What's up guys, this is your favorite fanfic YouTuber, the Fanfic Majesty, and welcome to another amazing video. You can follow me on Patreon for exclusive stories.
3 Shish. Chapter 61 Can your sword intent attract ghosts? Open black lens bracket ask for flowers close black lens bracket. Advertisement. At this time, there was a shout outside the door. A black shadow instantly appeared in front of Tashigi at an extremely terrifying speed, and with a snap of his hands, he caught the terrifying Onitsu. The shop owner was so frightened that he sat down on the ground. Tashigi also backed away again and again with a look of shock. Everyone took a closer look at this time, and it was Colonel Smoker, who was stationed in Rog Town and known as the White Hunter, who was attacking with the help of Luffy. Yo, hello. Luffy smiled and withdrew the ghost from Smoker's hand. Smoker punched Luffy directly. Hole. Who are you? Do you want to kill her? Luffy dodges Smoker's white punch with an understated sideways move. Don't get excited, I'm just demonstrating my kendo to the shopkeeper. Smoker was furious when he heard the words, B******************. You actually took your life to demonstrate the way of swordsmanship. I must arrest you, you hateful pirate. Stop. Who is going to take human life to demonstrate my sword skills? Luffy stopped Smoker innocently. If I hadn't caught the long sword in time, Tashigi would have. Luffy interrupted Smoker directly. Are you sure you caught it in time? Of course it is me. Smoker was about to speak when he suddenly reacted. No, it seems that my own strength is not enough to stop such a fast sword at such a long distance. At that time, I panicked, only feeling a terrifying force acting on myself. My body involuntarily appeared under Luffy's sword and clamped the long sword. Smoker looked at Luffy suspiciously. Zoro on the side suddenly realized. So it is. Supreme Sword Intent. Everyone was confused when they heard the words, what is the Supreme Sword Intent? Advertisement. Zoro looked at Luffy excitedly and said, I didn't expect to see this Supreme Sword Intent again. I thought you would never use sword skills after you sealed your sword. Zoro was very moved. Is this all to win me a good knife? This captain is so touching. Luffy nodded in an inscrutable way and said, my way of the sword is the sword that never kills. No matter how sharp and coquettish the sword is in my hands, it won't hurt anyone. They will only kneel on the ground and hold my sword devoutly and pray for my forgiveness. Everyone looked at Luffy in bewilderment, as if they were looking at a fool. They had never heard of such a sword. Looking at the disbelieving crowd, Luffy waved at the air again without explaining. In the next second, Tashigi half kneeled on the ground and clamped Luffy's ghost with his hands. Everyone. In the following time, Luffy swung his sword, and everyone took the sword. The shop owner, Tashigi, Smoker, and the proprietress took turns kneeling in front of Luffy to receive the sword over and over again. Luffy said to everyone like a magic stick, how is it? Have you realized it? The shop owner nodded frantically at this time. I got it. I got it. Don't make us kneel, our knees are swollen. Zoro also had a sore face on his face. If you demonstrate it, demonstrate it. They don't believe you demonstrate it to them. I believe in your swordsmanship. You let me take over the sword. In this regard, Luffy said, what the hell, this is a 100% bare-handed catch-to-hand, single-body, skill. Just swing the sword by yourself, whoever will receive the sword will randomly select the lucky audience purely by luck. Smoker also looked confused at this time, he is a Lodia smoke fruit-capable person. When Luffy swung the sword before, he was already elementalized, but his body still involuntarily ran to catch Luffy's ghost. This makes Smoker wonder if this guy is some kind of demon fruit power. At this time, Luffy laughed, what kind of demon knife, as long as it is a white blade, it will stand aside against his own causal law skills. Luffy swung Onitsu again. The shop owner shouted loudly, stop swinging it. I believe it. Give you the sword, and I will give you my ancestral sword as well. Advertisement. With a snap, a pair of palms caught Guiche again. Luffy looked at Zoro proudly, and threw Onitoru to him. That's what you said. I know that you have a snow sword. The sword is given to the hero. It's useless for you to keep it. Let's kill more pirates for us. The shop owner, who was going to deal with the sword casually, was crying for a moment. How does this guy know that he still has a sword? However, the shop owner is also from a swordsmith's family, and Luffy's kendo has really conquered him. He nodded and said, no problem, I'll get it for you right away. At this time, Tashigi, who came back to his senses, stared at Luffy excitedly, your swordsmanship is too strong. You are indeed the world's #1 swordsman who has defeated Hawkeye. Smoker took a deep puff of his cigar, stared at Luffy solemnly and asked, beat Hawkeye? Are you kidding me? But who are you? Luffy took out his military ID and threw it to Smoker. Monkey D. Luffy, Colonel of Naval Headquarters. Smoker's face suddenly changed. This is the Luffy who was about to be promoted to Commodore through the back door. I had no power to fight back in his hands just now. Tashigi behind him hastily saluted Luffy. Hello, sir. Luffy waved his hands as if inspecting. Comrades have worked hard. Tashigi suddenly raised his chest and raised his head in great encouragement. Smoker carefully looked at this 17-year-old boy, and really couldn't believe that this guy had such a strong ability. Just when he was about to invite Luffy to a serious battle, Zoro's voice full of doubts came from the side. Luffy, can you summon ghosts with your supreme sword intent? Ha! Luffy turned to look at Zoro with a puzzled expression. I saw Zoro pointing to the two palms that fell on the ground and said, You, the one who received the sword at the end, doesn't seem to be human. Chapter 62 I'm here for you this time open black lens bracket flowers close black lens bracket. Advertisement. Luffy carefully looked at the severed hand that fell to the ground. I was 100% caught with empty hands. It is reasonable to say that without hands, it would not be effective, but I have never heard that it can be caught with only palms. Luffy looked more and more familiar with the rise. Finally, Luffy immediately remembered the owner of this palm. Is this the G hand of Buggy the Clown? Luffy picked up the severed hand that wasn't bleeding a bit and shook it. Obviously, because it exceeds the 200 meters that Buggy can control, this arm is really like a model, but it still has the warmth and softness of a living palm. Luffy breathed a sigh of relief. This guy's fruit ability is the real pervert. Although he doesn't appear in many scenes, most of the time he relies on his conqueror's luck to profit from battle to battle. But the abilities that are occasionally revealed have already made people think carefully. The original Luffy and Nami split their body in two, and the torso was packed away. But Buggy is still unaffected by relying on a head and half limbs. Even after the body is buried for an unknown period of time, it can still be easily assembled back to the body. Even in the world of pirates, this vitality is extremely powerful. What's even more exaggerated is that Buggy easily took all of Hawkeye's attacks in Summit War. Although it looks like his body was cut into countless pieces by Hawkeye, Hawkeye is the world's #1 swordsman. Black Sword Knight has been infested by armament Haki for a long time and has become indestructible. Even the sword that attacks Hawkeye casually has armament Haki attached, because Hawkeye once said to Zoro that a real swordsman will not let the weapon hurt. So facing the slash with armament Haki, the only thing that can explain Buggy's unscathed is that, like Aokiji avoiding Whitebeard's immature sword, he split his body in advance through the top-level observation Haki, avoiding Hawkeye's slash hit. Advertisement. Originally I was looking for Buggy with the mentality of trying to see if this guy with Conqueror's luck is really the same waste material as in the anime. At this time, he actually forcibly sucked this guy's palm over by using a sword move unintentionally. Luffy took these two palms in play, picked them up and fed them directly into Samahata's big mouth. Tashigi and Smoker on the side were startled when they saw the untied Samahata. FK. What are you? Zoro also looked at Luffy with disgust on his face. You actually feed this guy. Luffy gave them a blank look, and took his palm out of Samahata's body again. This guy has his own space in his body, which is only used for temporary storage. At this time, Tashigi and Smoker breathed a sigh of relief. It seems that this reserve Commodore is not the kind of marine scum. Tashigi looked strangely at Luffy entwining Samahata again and asked, are you keeping this as a pet? Luffy smiled. This is a famous sword, ninja sword Samahata, how about it? Do you want it? If you want it, I will give it to you. Tashigi shook his head like a rattle when he heard this. The devil wants such an ugly thing. It's also called a knife, what about cheating ghosts? Luffy carried Samahata on his back speechlessly. If the people of Kurigakure in Hokage saw that Samahata, one of the 7 ninja knives in their village, was so disgusted, they would probably be sick from anger. At this time, the shopkeeper came down from upstairs with a sword stand in his hand. The owner excitedly held Yukino in his hand and said loudly, the blade is made of black lacquer tachi. The blade is a small T-shaped random blade. Huaisao Yukizuro. The shopkeeper handed Yukizo to Zoro with a look of reluctance, and said, I hope you will treat it kindly. Ah, that's for sure. Zoro took the snow and said excitedly. The shop owner nodded satisfied when he saw Zoro's loving eyes. It's been a long time since I saw the eyes of a good swordsman. They say that the sword will choose the owner. I wish you good luck. Advertisement. Zoro immediately thanked the shopkeeper, and put Onitsu and Yukino on his waist. Sure enough, it will be more practical to have 3 knives. Really, I don't feel anything. Luffy shrugged aside. Of course, I haven't reached the 2nd level of sword Dao where I don't have a sword in my hand, but I have a sword in my heart. Zoro gave Luffy a blank look. Luffy. Damn, he took it seriously. What should I do? What if the practice is crooked? The knives of One Piece world are an indispensable part of the kendo duel. In case someone else takes the 1st generation ghost and chops at Zoro in the later stage. He said, the sword is in the heart, and all vegetation and flying flowers can be swords. Single quote. Then, will he die miserably if he chops at the opponent with 3 grasses in his mouth? Thinking of this, Luffy wiped the cold sweat off his brow. Probably, maybe this guy isn't so stupid yet. At this time, Smoker asked Luffy, I don't know what is the purpose of Master Commodore coming this time. If you need a map of the Grand Line, I will send someone to bring it to you right away. Luffy glanced at Smoker, who was a little unwilling because he was kneeling to receive the sword, suddenly narrowed his eyes and smiled. I came this time because of you. Smoker was taken aback when he heard this. Huh. Luffy smiled and said to Smoker, are you interested in working under me? Chapter 63 Let's see who gets the ace first. Advertisement. That's right, recruiting Smoker is also one of the purposes of Luffy's coming to Rog Town. As a time traveler, Luffy likes the daily routine of the Straw Hats and others. But as a Nika fruit-capable user, he is destined to fight against the world government or celestial dragons in the future. Naturally, Luffy who takes the marine route will not recruit the so-called pirate alliances in the original book. Then if you want to accumulate your own power, you can only recruit from marine. Smoker is the marine with great potential in the future and the earliest appearance. As for Kebi and Beru Meber, One of those two guys is a playboy who disregards human life, and the other is a waste who has no sense of the overall situation and relies on emotion. Some at war, yelling to stop fighting, directly reduced Marine's victory by a third or more in an instant. You must know that the opposite side is the pirates in the second half of the Grand Line. Marine concentrated all his forces to bring the entire Whitebeard pirate group into the game, in order to weaken the New World pirate power and let Marine settle in New World. However, Kirby's delay allowed Redhead to arrive in time to prevent the expansion of Marine's victory, causing a large number of Whitebeard pirates and their allies to escape except for Whitebeard himself. As a result, the entire New World pirates did not suffer much damage at all, which greatly increased the difficulty for Marine to settle in New World. Just like this, 2B is still shouting that fighting is meaningless, it will only cause more casualties. He didn't understand at all that Marine's top management was essentially using Ace to destroy the power of Whitebeard, one of the 4 emperors, and by the way, enhance Marine's power so that it would be convenient to settle in the New World and receive the territory controlled by Whitebeard. Unfortunately, these plans were suppressed by the appearance of Blackbeard and Redhead broken. So when Luffy encountered the Alvida pirates, he didn't hesitate to send Kebby and Alvida to Joey Stan to deal with the pirates. This is why it is said that Smoker is the first Marine with great potential that Luffy encountered. Advertisement. Facing this one of the few guys who dared to contradict the 5 elders and had a promising future, Luffy naturally had the idea of recruiting. It's a pity that at this time, Smoker is still an arrogant thorn. He glanced at Luffy with disdain and said, "If I want to, I am also a Commodore in the headquarters now, and want to recruit me. I will be promoted to the Admiral Alternate first." Luffy smiled and looked at Smoker. As a Logia demon fruit power, but you are so content with being in such a small place like East Blue to deal with some bounties of 3 million Baileys. You have to know that with your strength, I'm afraid you won't be able to pass the first half of the Grand Line, right? Smoker was furious when he heard this. You are talking nonsense. In the first half of the Grand Line, I, Logia Devil Fruit, are invincible. You must know that the pirates in the first half of the Grand Line basically haven't even mastered Haki. With Smoker Logia's ability, unless it encounters the ability to restrain attributes, no one really can threaten it. Oh, really? How about we make a bet? Luffy said to Smoker with a smile. What bet? Smoker was taken aback when he heard that. You know there's an Alabasta in the first half of the Grand Line, right? Luffy asked with a smile. Of course, Smoker nodded. That was a country once established by descendants of 20 celestial dragons' royal families. I got the news that Portgas D. Ace, the second captain of the Whitebeard pirates, will appear in Alabasta. Let's bet to see who can catch Ace first. If I catch Ace first, you apply to be transferred to my marine branch. If you catch Ace first, I'll apply to transfer you to my marine branch. Advertisement. How about it? A shocked expression appeared on Smoker's face when he heard this, Whitebeard's second team captain. You must know that the Whitebeard pirates are one of the New World 4 emperors. He is the well-deserved Sea Emperor of the New World. Luffy dared to attack the captain of his second team. This is simply desperate. What? Are you scared? Luffy scoffed at the surprised Smoker. Smoker immediately denied it like a furry cat. Just kidding. How can my majestic marine be afraid of pirates? I'll take this bet. Luffy smiled as if the plot had succeeded. Then we will meet in Alabasta. I will go to the marine base to get the chart in the afternoon, and we will withdraw first. After speaking, Luffy walked up to Tashigi and smiled triumphantly. You will be with me soon. Seeing Luffy's face so close, Tashigi blushed and took 2 steps back. Smoker said dissatisfiedly. What are you driving? The winner and loser have not yet been decided. Luffy looked at Smoker sympathetically, and said in his heart, with your brain, you still need to win or lose. Then he led Zoro directly out of the weapon shop. At this moment, the blushing on Tashigi's face slowly receded, and she whispered to Smoker, Colonel, just now Luffy Commodore made a bet with you, it seems that you will be transferred to his army whether you win or lose. Smoker. Chapter 64 We are all temporary workers. Advertisement. At this time, on the other side of Rog Town. A group of mysterious people in cloaks are running around the town of Rog. B****************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************** the cloak shouted frantically at his subordinates. This man is none other than Buggy, the legendary clown with conqueror's luck. As hard as he is one of the few smart people with an online IQ in the world of pirates. It's different from those coquettish sluts who are reckless when they see people and grab things when they see them. Buggy's favorite thing is only treasure. My usual hobby is to search for money everywhere. It's different from those pirates who snatch it as soon as they land on the island. Buggy's own pirate group is more like an acrobatic troupe, and every time they land on an island, they first inquire about the news on the island in the name of the acrobatic troupe. If there is marine stationed, everyone will give up the treasure hunt. If you can't threaten your own existence, then you will become a pirate and rob treasure. And Buggy also has his own way of being a pirate, that is, he only robs but does not kill. This also led to the pirate who was obviously the same period as the red hair, but after working in East Blue for so many years, he only got a bounty of 15 million. Advertisement. It is precisely because in the eyes of the world government, the threat of this guy is really small and outrageous. Of course, this is also related to his identity as an intern crew member in the Roger Pirates. And this time I came to Rog Town precisely because of a treasure map located in the Grand Line that was stolen from Colonel Monka before. Buggy, who is dedicated to treasure hunting, will naturally not miss this opportunity. However, just as he quietly came to the town of Rog to resupply and prepare to set foot on the Grand Line, my palm disappeared in one direction with an inexplicable whoosh, and almost at the same time, it exceeded the control range of 200 yards and lost its sense. The deputy captain Mochi whispered in horror, "Captain, do you think Rog Town is haunted? After all, it is the place where the legendary pirate Wong was executed." Buggy trembled when he heard this. "Idiot. How can there be ghosts in this world?" Then he muttered in a low voice, "Even if there is a ghost captain, he will definitely not look for me." The acrobat Kabaji on the side is riding a unicycle and throwing apples on the side of a street to perform juggling. "Captain, look, the people here are so generous, they give a lot of tips." Buggy didn't spit out a mouthful of old blood, and kicked Kabaji away. "You idiot. We want to keep a low profile. Low key, you know, UB asterisk 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 D, the watcher here is the Logia demon fruit known as the White Hunter power. If we are discovered, none of us can escape. Hurry up and find my palm. Get out of here as soon as you find it." Buggy roared frantically. Kabaji was so frightened that he fell off the wheelbarrow, and hurriedly put on a gray cloak to prevent being discovered. However, what they don't know is that in the town of Rog, which is a tourist city, this mysterious outfit seems to be telling others deliberately that Lousy is not a good person, come and arrest Lousy. At least that's true for the sharp-eyed Usopp. Advertisement. Just after fighting Usopp with his daughter Nuda Dibby, he noticed the group of snake spirits wrapped tightly in broad daylight in front of him at a glance. "Hey, Uncle Duddy, look, is that guy the legendary clown Buggy?" Usopp asked Duddy cautiously. Duddy is the marine genius sniper who once saw the photo of his daughter and turned to become a bounty hunter after losing the one-on-one marksmanship with Usopp. In order to be able to take care of his daughter more safely, Daddy knows these bounty criminals very well, because he only picks the bounty criminals below 3 million. However, the guy who can shoot at the Kadri sniper Usopp among the 4 Emperor's red hair pirates is naturally not an ordinary bounty hunter. Even if Usopp had just set out to sea at that time, it was enough to show that the person in front of him had quite good strength and potential. It's a pity that in order to prevent her daughter from living on the streets after her death, she gave up further plans and has been nesting in Rog Town to catch some little pirates who want to enter the Grand Line. His sensitivity to bounty criminals is not comparable to that of Usopp, an intern marine. Duddy looked carefully at Buggy under the cloak and nodded. "That's right, it's Buggy the Clown, the leader of the Buggy Pirates." Usopp suddenly looked excited. "Great. I didn't expect that I found this guy first." Duddy on the side looked at Usopp strangely. "Do you have a grudge against him?" "Ah." Usopp quickly waved his hand. "That's not true. The main reason is that our captain has no money. Let's find this guy and catch Marine in exchange for a bounty." Duddy looked at Usopp naturally. "Didn't you say you were Marine?" Usopp scratched his head in embarrassment. "At present, only the captain is preparing the Marine. According to our captain, we are all temporary workers." Duddy. Chapter 65. Our travel expenses have settled, thank you for your reward. Advertisement. When Duddy heard the situation on Luffy's boat, the corners of his mouth twitched unconsciously. He had never heard of a naval headquarters commodore who had neither warships nor soldiers, just a bare-bones commander. You must know that when the Iron Fist Sabaody first appeared, there was still a warship and a dozen marine subordinates. It wasn't until he was dispatched to a remote corner that he was reduced to a wreck of a warship and 5 or 6 shrimp soldiers and crab generals. But Luffy is the colonel of naval headquarters, and he is about to be promoted to the celebrity of commodore. At this time, his subordinates are so talented, which made Duddy wonder. Usopp watched as Buggy and the others pulled out the slingshot from his arms. "Hello, what are you going to do?" Duddy on the side asked in surprise. "Catch him, of course," Usopp said in amazement. "We're making a bet on who will find Buggy the Clown first." Duddy looked at Usopp like an idiot. "This is Buggy, the big pirate clown with a bounty of 15 million, are you sure you can beat him?" Then he glanced at Usopp's weapon again. "With the toy in your hand." Usopp was covered in cold sweat when he heard the words. "I'm stupid. After staying with the monsters for a long time, I almost forgot that I was just a powerless rookie." He turned to look at Duddy. But Duddy looked dotingly at his daughter Guy Luo next to him. "I won't take action against such a big pirate with a high bounty." Usopp looked disappointed. Immediately, he took out a firework and released it directly into the sky. This is the signal flare agreed upon by Luffy et al. If there is an emergency, send it out. After all, even the Master Kakuzu can starve to death, and other people are not allowed to have any accidents or the like. At this time, Buggy also noticed the fireworks in the sky. Usopp was so scared that he quickly hid behind a wall. Advertisement. Buggy looked at the sky with a puzzled face. "Is there any festival?" "There are fireworks here." Mochi on the side rubbed his palms. "Captain Buggy, how about we release 2 to celebrate?" "What? You said fireworks look like my red nose." Buggy growled angrily at Mochi. Mochi, Luffy and Zoro, who had achieved their goal, were strolling around, but they frowned suddenly when they saw the fireworks in the sky. "Who sent an emergency assembly message?" Zoro looked at the fireworks in the sky and said. Luffy's eyes suddenly flashed red, and observation Haki looked straight towards the direction of the fireworks. "Huh," Luffy gave a little snort. "What's wrong?" Zoro asked in surprise, "Is there something urgent?" "That's not true," Luffy smiled. "I feel like we've got our travel expenses covered." Zoro. "Huh." However, before the two could rush in the direction of Usopp, a large number of fireworks rose from that direction. "Wow, ha ha ha, don't miss it when you pass by." Welcome to watch our Buggy circus. Taming beasts, throwing knives, and unicycles are all available. Don't pay 9,800 yuan. Don't pay 980 yuan. Only 98 yuan, and you can take the ticket home. Buy big and get small free. Give back activities. Don't miss it when you pass by. When Luffy and Zoro arrived, they found huge tents erected on the square where the execution platform originally stood. The pirates of the Buggy Pirates are soliciting tourists everywhere. Are you sure it's Buggy the clown with a bounty of 15 million Baileys? Looking at the circus in front of him, Zoro twitched his eyebrows twice. Advertisement. Luffy also looked at the bustling crowd with a speechless face. Your uncle, do you have the professionalism to be a pirate? At this time, Usopp jumped out from the crowd, with a loli in a Lolita costume riding on his neck. Yo, Luffy, you're here, look I found Buggy. Usopp pointed to the largest tent. At the door of the tent, Mochi was pulling Lakey the lion and dancing in the fire ring, making the surrounding audience cheer. It's in the biggest tent. Zoro, Luffy, what the hell are you doing? At this time, Luffy also noticed Duddy following behind. He smiled and stretched out his hand and said, Daddy Masterson. Duddy shook hands with Luffy in surprise. You know me. The former Marine genius sniper was defeated by Usopp and has never recovered from it. Luffy said with a smile, it says so in the resume I read before. Duddy laughed twice, and didn't care about what Luffy said. Is that so? It's an honor to have Commodore remember my name. Luffy spoke again. Are you interested in coming to my place? Daddy was taken aback when he heard the words, you want to recruit me? Luffy nodded as a matter of course. After all, you are a man who can arm wrestle with the red-haired chief sniper of the four emperors. It's a pity that your talent is wasted here. Duddy shook his head with a smile, and looked at his daughter Guy Luoer beside him. I don't think it's a waste now. Luffy smiled and said to Duddy again. How about we make a bet? Zoro on the side looked at Luffy blankly. This guy is going to ignore Hiroto again. Chapter 66 Subdue the Genius Sniper Open Black Lens Bracket Ask for Flowers Close Black Lens Bracket. Advertisement. In fact, Luffy also temporarily remembered the man in front of him, Duddy Masterson, Smoker's contemporaneity. Duddy Masterson doesn't have much of a role, but Marine's talented sniper and his record against Vice Admiral Usopp's injuries are enough to leave a mark in pirates. Although the red hair was not four emperors at that time, Usopp was just a rookie who had not been out for a long time. But it is enough to show that Duddy Masterson is not inferior to Smoker in terms of potential. Unfortunately, after being hit by Usopp, he directly gave up and continued to develop in Marine and turned to bounty hunter to earn a living. Naturally, his strength has gradually failed to keep up with the same period since he did not receive advanced training at the headquarters. At this time, Usopp was already the red-haired chief sniper cadre of the four emperors, while Duddy was still hunting millions of little pirates and bounties in the town of East Blue Rog. And Luffy, as a marine, naturally cannot gather 10 or 8 partners to travel around the world like the original book. Whether it is preparing to turn against celestial dragons in the future, or clearing up New World to unify pirates, the support of its own forces is indispensable. Otherwise, even if you are too strong, no one will recognize you as the Emperor of the Sea. After all, the former Lonely Red was evaluated by Sengoku as a force that can be tied with Roger Pirates and Golden Lion, but he still cannot become four emperors. The root cause is that he does not have enough power to control enough territory. No matter how powerful they are just pirates wandering in the New World. And the New World four emperors, even the most reckless redheads, have countless affiliated pirate groups controlling their territory. Therefore, whether Luffy is a pirate or a marine, he must have his own direct lineage. Just relying on Zoro and the others is undoubtedly a dream. At this time, Luffy, who is a marine, must not be able to find subordinates from among the pirates, so the only way for him to develop his direct line is to start with his acquaintances. That's right, it's the revolutionary army of my cheap daddy, and the marine side in the hands of the old man Garp are looking for. One of these two forces belongs to the liberation of brutal rule and the establishment of fairer justice. The other party is to maintain the peace of the civilians under the existing system, and for the people at the bottom, they all belong to the party of relative justice. Advertisement. At this time, it is rare to meet a guy worthy of training other than Marine and the Revolutionary Army, so Luffy naturally refuses to let him go. However, Duddy didn't seem to be as hard-headed as Smoker. He glanced at Guy Luoer and refused decisively. I don't want to die by my own gun again now. Is it because you are afraid that your daughter will sleep on the street after you die? Luffy said with a chuckle. Duddy lit his pipe and took a puff without speaking. But Luffy became serious. But you have to think about your daughter's future. Daddy was taken aback when he heard the words, what future? With your strength, you may still be able to live comfortably with this group of small bounty criminals. But in today's world, the second half of the Grand Line has been out of the control of the world government and Marine. The Revolutionary Army frequently instigates coups in allied countries and declares independence. The power of pirates is growing. Do you think the real war will be far away? With your current strength, it may be more than enough to deal with some small pirates, but you should also know that Usopp's strength at this time can easily kill you instantly. When the real chaos comes, can you still protect your daughter's safety? Didn't we Marine choose to uphold justice so that the next generation can live a peaceful life? Luffy spoke impassionedly to Duddy. Duddy's face was full of confusion at this time. He once remembered that he was also a man who was developing towards the naval headquarters cadre and walking the elite road. But because of a defeat, his original belief was shaken. Besides, as a bounty hunter, there are many enemies. Can you really guarantee that you will stay by Guy Lure's side and protect him for the rest of your life? Luffy glanced at the thugs who were rushing towards him. Advertisement. Soon several people surrounded the crowd. You bloody B****************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************A burly man at the head pointed a gun at Daddy with a vicious face and cursed, "I will never spare you." With a pensive expression on Daddy's face, he asked Luffy, "Even so, what reason do I have to be your subordinate? Know that even if first rejoin Marine, I can get a good position with my old classmate Smoker." Luffy looked at Duty, who was a little bit excited, and grinned. "Let me reintroduce, I'm Monkey D. Luffy, my grandfather Monkey D. Garp, the largest Marine second generation among the Marines. If you agree to join me, I can easily get you sent to the Naval Headquarters training base for further training." Duddy's face changed when he heard the words, Marine Hero Garp. Luffy nodded calmly. "And your classmate Smoker will be recruited by me in the near future." Luffy sold Smoker directly in advance to buy Duddy's heart. Duddy fell into deep thought immediately upon hearing this. At this time, the criminals who surrounded him were not happy. "Damn, we're here for revenge, can you give us some attention? Can you respect our profession? Give it to me, FK them to death." The criminal roared angrily. And at the same time, Zoro and Duddy shot at the same time. After a burst of gunshots and knives, Duddy took a cigarette from a criminal's arms, lit it and stuffed it into his mouth and said to Luffy, "I can promise you, but you must give Guy Luore a good settlement." Luffy grinned upon hearing this. "No problem. Chapter 67 I have one condition." Advertisement. Zoro looked at Duddy with admiration, as expected of the legendary Duddy with children. Duddy also glanced at Zoro. "Noah Zoro, the pirate hunter. I didn't expect that the bounty hunter Usopp mentioned was you." "Nani?" Zoro looked at Usopp viciously when he heard this. Usopp was shocked immediately. "Just kidding. I'm just kidding." At this time, the gunshots of several people also attracted the attention of Buggy and his group in the circus. The deputy captain Mochi looked at Zoro and Duddy carefully. Why do these two look so familiar? Lee K, the lion beside him, roared twice. Mochi nodded. "Oh, so it's a bounty hunter." Suddenly Mochi reacted. "Bounty hunter." He hurried into the tent and shouted at Buggy, "The captain is dead. We are being targeted by bounty hunters." "Nani, are you after my red nose?" Buggy yelled at Mochi angrily. "Mochi, huh, is this the legendary Captain Buggy 14? Luffy's voice suddenly sounded from the side, and Buggy, who was furious, was shocked. He suddenly turned his head to see that Luffy was holding his baby's treasure map. Buggy's face changed drastically, and he shouted excitedly, "Don't touch my baby." Torn apart clown throwing knives. "Everyone, Buggy, FK, I still can't find my hand." Falling pancakes. Buggy roared again, and then his lower body split, his body flew towards Luffy like a pancake, and the barbed bayonet popped out of his toe, spinning and cutting towards Luffy. Luffy frowned watching Buggy's attack. It wasn't because of Buggy's unexpected strength. Advertisement. On the contrary, Buggy's strength is too weak. With the attack power currently displayed by Buggy, it is indeed worth his 15 million bounty, but it is only 15 million, and it is not worth a dime. Luffy looked at Buggy's lower body and directly raised his foot to flirt. Buggy, who was laughing triumphantly, fell to the ground with livid face and twitched all over, wailing loudly, "It hurts, hurts, hurts. Damn it, FK me, little ones. Catch him." Buggy resisted the severe pain and shouted to the outside. However, after waiting for a long time, there was no movement outside. And Zoro and Duddy opened the curtain and walked in. "What a mob," Zoro said, yawning in disgust. "I'm scared." Buggy turned around and was surprised to find that all the members of the pirate group outside had been wiped out. "Did you actually stay on Roger's ship?" Luffy looked at Buggy suspiciously and asked. Buggy broke out in a cold sweat when he heard the words, "I'm drowning." "How do you know?" In the next second, he tightly covered his mouth. He had been keeping these secrets all these years so that he could be happy in East Blue safely. If he really exposed his identity as an intern crew member of the Roger Pirates, then he would definitely be surrounded by Marine. Buggy burst into tears at this time. "Damn it, which B***************** D took my hand away, otherwise I wouldn't be exposed." Mochi on the side retorted. "Didn't you say, boss, that I set up the circus to earn some extra money while someone was setting off fireworks?" "Buggy, shut up. If you don't speak, no one will think you are dumb." Immediately, Buggy threatened Luffy angrily. "I was planning to get along with you as ordinary people. Now that I have been discovered, I will show my cards. Stop pretending. I, Captain Buggy, am the crew of One Piece Gall D. Roger. 4 emperors with red hair is my brother. If you dare to touch me, my brother will definitely not let you go." Zoro scratched his head and looked at a Buggy and asked, "4 emperors? What's that?" Advertisement. Hearing this, Buggy staggered and yelled at Zoro, "You be D, you don't even know the 4 emperors." Luffy touched his chin, took off the straw hat on his head, and said to Buggy with a smile, "Red hair. I know him well, but how did I hear that you hate him so much?" In order to eat the fruit for himself, Buggy was frightened by Shanks and swallowed the chop fruit and became a landlubber. This made Buggy hold grudges against the red hair all the time, and at this moment, looking at the straw hat in Luffy's hand, he finally reacted. "Me, this straw hat looks exactly like Captain Roger's hat. Dare to ask brother who you are." Buggy asked Luffy cautiously. Luffy smiled. Monkey D. Luffy is a Marine. Buggy's face changed drastically when he heard the words. The one in front of him turned out to be the Naval Headquarters Commodore that was hyped up in the newspapers recently. 053. I saw that the lower body in front of Luffy was suddenly torn apart. Buggy himself yelled. 5 cracks, run away. For a moment, the whole person fled in all directions in disarray. Mochi on the side looked at the fleeing captain in a daze. However, Luffy raised his foot and stepped on Buggy's feet on the ground. The body that fled around for a while suddenly flew around in the air, but it couldn't do without the sun within 200 yards. Soon Buggy reunited with a depressed face, floated in the air and said softly to Luffy. Look, I haven't done anything harmful to the world these years, I'm just hunting for treasure at sea, if we don't mess with the river, what do you think? Luffy looked at the depressed Buggy with a smile and said. Sure. When Buggy heard this, a look of great joy appeared on his face. But I have one condition. Luffy spoke again. Zoro and Duddy looked at Luffy in astonishment. Why the hell does this scene feel so familiar? Sure enough, the next second Luffy said to Buggy. I want you to be my subordinate. Chapter 68 I think you are suitable for express delivery open black lens bracket first order close black lens bracket. Advertisement. Hey, Luffy. Zoro frowned and looked at Luffy. This guy is a pirate, are you sure you can recruit him into the Marine? Duddy also looked at Luffy with some doubts, wondering why he wanted to recruit Buggy to his subordinates. Luffy smiled and said to the two. It's a demon fruit power anyway, and this guy didn't commit some unforgivable capital crimes. More importantly, Luffy thinks that Buggy is essentially greedy for money, and in the original book, Buggy's contribution is even much greater than that of Luffy in the original book. During Impel Down, Luffy released a large number of pirates. Originally, this group of people were extremely vicious and cruel villains. As a result, by mistake, these people voluntarily surrendered to Buggy, but instead of leading the group to do evil, Buggy joined the 7 warlords of the sea to make a living by plundering pirates. Later, the pirate dispatch company, Buggy Express, was established. The jailbreak event that would have caused a great commotion in the world was killed by Buggy alone in the cradle. It also allows Marine to focus more on moving the Marine headquarters to New World. So Luffy doesn't have the disgust of Buggy for killing civilians like Kid does, and if handled well, Buggy will bring Luffy a lot of wealth. After all, if Grand Line can expand the express delivery industry, it will not lose to the news agency in terms of intelligence or money. So when he saw that Buggy was not a hidden boss like the previous life conspiracy theory, Luffy had the idea of bringing him under his command to provide himself with funds. After all, it is impossible for me to live on the wool of the world government forever. When the pirate bounties I redeemed increased, the world government would definitely not allow the large bounties to be exchanged by myself. But if you want to develop power, you must have sufficient economic resources. Buggy Express is undoubtedly a good entry point. With him relying on relationships in Marine to operate, it is a piece of cake to whitewash a mere 15 million little pirate. And Buggy's identity as a red-haired gay friend can make him flourish in the Grand Line including New World. After all, the red-haired face fruit is not something to talk about casually. Luffy squinted at Buggy and asked, how? What do you think? Buggy was reluctant when he heard the words. How can I, Captain Buggy, bow down to Marine? My dream is to search for treasures at sea. Luffy gave Buggy a sideways look, and stomped hard on Buggy's leg again. Buggy screamed in pain. I'll think about it again. I'll think about it again. Luffy said to Buggy at this time. I didn't ask you to be my Marine, I think it would be good to open a courier company in Grand Line for your sake. With me in Marine to help you endorse, plus the face of the crew of Roger Pirates, I believe that no matter which side of the sea, it will give you face. You can also hunt for treasure in the Grand Line openly, and you only need to give me a part of the treasure you find as a public relations fee. Buggy's eyes lit up when he heard the words, so that he could fulfill his dream of treasure hunting openly, without worrying about being wanted by Marine. The key is that you don't have to be controlled by Luffy every day. Isn't this of the same nature as Shichibukai? Advertisement. As for the protection fee paid, I just like the process and result of obtaining the treasure. Anyway, it costs money, wouldn't it be better to just spend money to buy peace of mind? Just as Buggy was about to nod his head in agreement, he suddenly frowned. Isn't that right? Just because you are a naval headquarters commodore, you also want to whitewash my identity as Roger Pirates. Are you kidding me? Luffy calmly said to Buggy. My grandpa. Garp. Buggy's eyes widened when he heard the words. After you grow up, you will be my big brother. Grandson of Marine hero Garp. Back then, it was the monster that chased its own captain around. Although it is a Marine Vice Admiral position today, who doesn't know Garp's status in Marine? Even Admiral Aokiji is the root of Garp before, and Marshal Sengoku and Vice Admiral are Garp's best friends. The Battle of the Valley of the Gods saved countless celestial dragons and made Garp's position in Marine unshakable. Tang withdraws the fruit ability user Garp. There is no bigger backstage than him in Marine. Even the 4 emperors dare not shout in front of him. This is definitely a monster that can walk sideways in the pirate world. Buggy looked forward to the future of running Grand Line with excitement, looked at Luffy with a flattering face and said, Brother, when will we start planning? Duddy and Zoro looked at the villain who had changed his attitude 180 degrees speechlessly. Luffy spat Buggy's hand out of the shark muscle and threw it over. Ah, my palm. Buggy looked at the palm and exclaimed, it turned out that the eldest brother took it away. Quote. Luffy looked at Big Brother. Big Brother's non-stop Buggy, a little nervous. Speak normally to me. Okay, brother, Luffy. At this moment, a burst of thick smoke drifted over from outside the tent BECD. What are you guys doing? Smoker led Tashigi in through the door. Buggy the clown. The 10 hands in Smoker's hand slammed directly at Buggy. Seeing this, Buggy's body was torn apart and dodged Smoker's seastone weapon. Seeing this, Luffy raised his eyebrows. This guy really has observation hockey talent similar to Usopp. Unlike Usopp's ultra-long-range sniper talent, Buggy's knowledge color is aimed at avoiding melee attacks. No wonder he can easily dodge Hawkeye's slash. Advertisement. If he didn't know the weakness of Chop Chop Fruit, he might not have let Buggy run away just now. Seeing that Smoker was about to continue to attack, Luffy directly grabbed Smoker's weapon. Don't get excited, this guy is my undercover agent in New World. Luffy spoke to Smoker. Undercover. Smoker was taken aback for a moment, and he looked at Buggy carefully, just because of this guy. When Buggy saw this, he was furious. B****************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************** one piece back then. Back then, the red hair also needed to rely on my breath. Smoker looked at Buggy with contempt and didn't bother to talk to this guy. After all, the pirate hypnosis teacher Zangao was also included by his classmate Hina in the original book, and Smoker didn't think there was any big problem. Buggy was instantly furious, and just about to continue provoking, Smoker's body suddenly turned into a puff of smoke. Logia demon fruit power. Buggy was startled and calmed down. After all, I have been dawdling all these years, except for the development of demon fruit power, and I have not exercised my body to the extent of owning armament hockey. How did you come here? Luffy looked at Smoker in surprise and asked. Smoker handed over a document and said, a message from the headquarters, let you set off for the naval headquarters to receive the award immediately, greater than all special warships will come to pick you up. Luffy's face showed surprise when he heard this. This place is not too close to naval headquarters. If there is a special warship to pick it up, it can only be a warship with a sea stone inlaid on the bottom of the ship that can walk on the comm belt if it is above the vice admiral of the headquarters. So anxious. What happened? Luffy asked Smoker strangely. Smoker looked at Buggy strangely and said, I don't know the specifics, it is said that the redhead of 4 emperors has contacted 4 emperors Whitebeard recently. Luffy immediately showed a clear expression when he heard the words. Obviously, dark fruit has been obtained by Blackbeard, and Ace has set off to hunt down Blackbeard. And Marine is worried that the 4 emperors are plotting, and urgently needs some positive news to calm the panic of the common people. Luffy nodded, turned to Usopp and said, let everyone get together and prepare to go to naval headquarters. When Usopp heard this, his face showed excitement. Huh, can we go too? Luffy nodded as a matter of course. That's for sure, I will officially join Marine as soon as I become a Commodore. Usopp's eyes brightened immediately, and he ran towards the town of Rog in a hurry. Zoro on the side also nodded. I'll look for them too. Luffy stopped him immediately. Don't make a fuss, save you and go out to find someone. I'm afraid not all of us will run out to find you by then. Zoro. Blanche. At this time, Luffy had no idea that naval headquarters was in full swing for the promotion ceremony, and the scale was beyond his expectation. Chapter 69 The correct use of Nika fruit. Open black lens bracket. First order close black lens bracket. Advertisement. Amazing. Nami looked excitedly at the scene outside the boat. Zoro and others on the side didn't feel much. Is there anything so strange? By the way, the sea here is a bit too calm, right? Everyone asked Nami strangely. Zoro, Usopp and others knew nothing about the so-called calm belt. This is the calm belt. Strange seas on either side of the Grand Line. Nami looked around excitedly. Her dream was to draw the world's sea charts. She never thought that one day she would be able to sail on the calm belt. This sea area has no air currents or ocean currents. It is an eternally calm sea area. A ship that cannot rely on wind power can pass through. Nami patiently explained to everyone. Can't use wind power. Then we just use our hands to paddle and it's over. Usopp asked curiously from the side. Idiot. Do you think it's just that there is no wind? You must know that the real horror is hidden under this calm sea. Nami looked at Usopp with contempt and said, this sea is the nest of super giant sea kings. Super giant sea kings. Everyone was taken aback when they heard this. Zoro curled his lips in disdain and said, is it as big as the sea beast that the dragon pirates brought back from the Grand Line? Nami is a little uncertain. After all, she has never seen the size of the legendary sea kings. Really, I heard the calm belt is scarier than the Grand Line. At this time, Buggy came out from the side and said disdainfully, sea beast. Just kidding, how dare that kind of thing compare to sea kings in calm belt? The largest sea monsters in the Grand Line are not as big as the smallest sea kings in the calm belt. Everyone was surprised when they heard the words, really. Just when everyone was questioning, a huge millennium dragon flew past calm belt not far away. Suddenly, a terrifyingly huge snake sea kings rose directly from the bottom of the water and swallowed the 1,000-year-old dragon that was comparable to a warship into its mouth. As if feeling the turmoil of their companions, one after another terrifying giant beasts poked their heads out of the sea. Everyone's eyes suddenly stared, and the eyeballs almost popped out. Usopp sat down on the deck, his legs were shaking wildly and said, Mom, I want to go home. Even Zoro was in a cold sweat looking at the terrifying scene in the distance. Nima, in front of such giant beasts, even if he tried his best, he could at most cut a gap in a scale, which would be good. In front of this super giant sea kings, the warship is really not as big as a scale. Luffy also came out of the cabin at this time, looking at the scene in the distance with a face of shock. No wonder Poseidon can be one of the three ancient weapons. Originally, Luffy felt that the ability to control sea kings was not worth mentioning in front of top powerhouses. After all, powerhouses at the Hawkeye level all have the strength to smash meteorites together. Advertisement. But at this moment, Luffy knows how terrifying Poseidon's strength is. If it weren't for these Sea Master coupons, they wouldn't be big enough to surpass the Red 10 continent. Luffy doubts that Poseidon will be able to destroy the celestial dragons with these big guys. Of course, in the absence of admiral-level powerhouses participating in the battle, no one knows how many cards the celestial dragons have accumulated over the past 800 years of ruling the world. At this time, Luffy re-examined the power of the legendary third-generation ancient weapon. Originally, relying on the impression of the anime, he felt that the ancient weapon was nothing special. But at the moment, maybe the ancient weapon can't threaten the real powerhouse who was at the peak of pirates. But in terms of strategic significance, even the combination of 4 emperors and 3 admirals may not be as terrifying as a Poseidon. After all, the number of sea kings in Calm Belt is outrageous, and even if 4 emperors plus 3 admirals are counted, there may be no more than 1,000 cadres who can compete with the giant sea kings. For countless sea kings, it is estimated that they can be wiped out with life piles, if they don't run. Hey, Luffy, is it really okay for us to sail in this sea? Yes, is there a safer way to get us to naval headquarters? Usopp asked Luffy, trembling. At this time, a marine colonel came out with a smile in the cabin. Don't worry, the warship we're on is a newly developed seastone warship. As long as we don't stay in a sea area for too long, the sea kings won't find us. Also, please don't make too much noise can easily attract the attention of the sea kings. This person was Colonel Joey's, who was in charge of taking Luffy and others to naval headquarters. Usopp and Nami immediately covered their mouths. Luffy looked at the giant sea kings in the distance. If he still had Li Jing's 100% template bonus, he might be able to kill these handless guys in seconds. At this time, although the template of the Flash King has a terrifying bonus to observation hockey, for these giant beasts, no matter how fast their reaction ability is, they can't hide from a slap. Unless it can restore 100% of the peak speed of Li Ren Bok. Maybe you can escape the attack of these giant sea kings by virtue of the speed of sound. At this time, Buggy looked at the stunned crowd triumphantly and said, HMPH, what's there to be afraid of? Our Captain Roger was serving sea kings for dinner at the time. Buggy traveled with Roger. Although his strength has stagnated for a long time, his experience is not comparable to that of everyone present. However, Marine was able to study the warships that came and went from the Calm Belt at will. Buggy looked with admiration at the warship that did not cause any commotion in Sea Kings. Excitement flashed in his eyes. Asking for flowers. If I could also have a warship like this, wouldn't I be able to shuttle around the Grand Line at will? Trembling, Usopp asked Joey's, are you sure these Sea Kings won't find us? Joey's nodded confidently. This has been tested countless times by our Marine. Luffy also sighed and said, that is to say, Marine supported by the world government can still be so rich and powerful, using seastone on a warship. You must know that the cost of a seastone warship is already comparable to that of a pacifist. Don't look at the later pacifists who were scrapped by Straw Hat crew like a rotten street. Advertisement. You must know that when that thing first appeared on the scene, it was a war machine that could compete with the supernova of the evil generation. Only the strange monk Lelouch, who defeated one of the 4 generals, destroyed a pacifist by himself. The rest are at best on par with the pacifists. This is already close to the combat effectiveness of the captain of the large fleet under the 4 emperors. 0. And the most terrifying thing about this thing is that it can be mass-produced. And the price of a warship is comparable to that of a pacifist, which is enough to explain the high cost of a warship. Joey smiled and said to Luffy, I believe Lord Luffy will soon have such a warship. As it stands now, only Marines of Vice Admiral level and above are eligible to own a seastone warship. Luffy spread her hands. I hope so. Single quote. And at this moment, low humming sounds suddenly appeared in Luffy's mind. Is it time? Are you here? The king has been born. How much longer? Hold on. Shall we eat that shrimp on top of our heads? Wait for the king's order. Luffy broke out in a cold sweat for a moment. My grass. Everyone looked at Luffy in surprise and asked, what's wrong? Luffy waved his hand. A look of seriousness flashed across his face. Hear the voice of all things. Super giant sea kings. I never thought that I would meet those big guys who pulled the boat for Noah. These super giant sea kings with high intelligence will naturally not be confused by the bottom of the seastone ship, and everyone has no idea that they have already walked through the gate of hell. Luffy breathed a sigh of relief and muttered, I must go to the Fishman Island to clear the copy of Shirahoshi some other day. After mastering Poseidon, even if the 5 elders want to move themselves, they must take a good look at the Wangdian area. Speaking of which, after I awaken the Nika fruit, will I be able to perfectly match Shirahoshi's body shape? A strange look suddenly appeared on Luffy's face. Hey, what do you see that is? Usopp suddenly pointed to a black shadow on the sea level in the distance and exclaimed. Everyone looked at a castle on the sea, which was located alone in the center of Calm Belt. Chapter 70 Iron Body Jet Pistol. Advertisement. Impossible. This is Calm Belt. Nami looked at the looming black shadow in surprise and exclaimed. Luffy stared at the black shadow and said, sure enough, Impel Down. Joey smiled and nodded. Unexpectedly, Master Luffy has heard of this place, so I don't need to explain too much. Impel Down. What's it for? Everyone asked Luffy in surprise. Didn't I say that those pirates who get caught will live a life that is worse than death? That's why. Luffy laughed and said to the crowd, Impel Down, the strictest prison in the marine, is divided into 6 floors. A waste of 20 million Baileys like Arlong is not even worthy of entering the 3rd floor. It houses the ferocious criminals captured by the marine for hundreds of years. It is known as an iron wall and deters countless big pirates on the Grand Line. It is precisely because of the 3 of Impel Down that countless pirates are unwilling to fight against it even if their strength exceeds marine. After all, if they miss and are captured, they will live a life that would be worse than death. Everyone looked at this marvelous building with admiration. They couldn't imagine how Marine built this prison on the Calm Belt. Aren't we going to naval headquarters? Why are we in Impel Down? Zoro asked Luffy with a puzzled look on his face. I think it's because we need to go on a special current that belongs to the Marine. Luffy raised his head to indicate a direction, and everyone looked up, only to realize that a terrifying giant door appeared beside the warship at some point. The Gate of Justice. Military strongholds connected to Eni's lobby, naval headquarters, and Impel Down. So big, everyone looked at the giant door in surprise, and a gap slowly opened. The waves on the other side of the door are choppy, in stark contrast to the calm of the Calm Belt. Luffy turned his head and walked back to the cabin, waving his hands. Calm Belt will soon arrive at naval headquarters. You should recharge your batteries. I think this time naval headquarters is not as easy as you think. Ah, everyone looked at Luffy strangely, not knowing what he meant. Joey's on the side looked at Luffy's back with admiration. As expected of Master Luffy, he can even guess this. Everyone looked at Joey's in unison. Advertisement. Joey's explained with some embarrassment. Master Luffy's strength is naturally no problem as a Commodore. However, in terms of experience, Master Luffy only has the merits of the Dragon Pirates, and this award was broadcast live all over the world. Even I don't understand the intention of the world government. Not to mention that there are still many self-respecting thorns in Marine, and they are all waiting to give Lord Luffy a blow when he arrives at naval headquarters. Huh, there is such a thing. Is there still time for me to go back now? Usopp trembled when he heard the words. Challenges from other Marines. Zoro held the Onitsu in his hand excitedly, just to try out my new knife. Sanji took a puff of a cigarette and didn't care about it. He was a student of Zapu at this time and thought he was no weaker than anyone. Only Luffy walked into the cabin alone, with a mocking look on his face. What is this? Do yourself a favor. Luffy believes that the strength he has shown must have appeared on the Five Elders report. For 800 years, the world government has not been able to control rubber fruit. Although I have joined the Marine camp now, in order to prevent unnecessary increase and change, it is obvious that I plan to give myself a boost. Mu Shu Yu Lin Feng will destroy it. Originally, First became a Marine through the back door, and was directly promoted to Commodore before entering the Grand Line. This will definitely cause dissatisfaction among a large number of grassroots Marine non-commissioned officers. If one's own strength is not enough to frighten this group of Marines, it will be extremely difficult to develop one's own lineage in Marines once one's reputation of relying on connections is solid. After all, no one wants to be with a dude who relies on the back door to get to the top. According to the original strength of Luffy, any school-level Marine can beat Luffy. After all, Naval Headquarters field officers have already mastered knowledge color and armament hockey. Just like Zoro mastered the armament hockey winding after 2 years of practice, he thought that the black sword was invincible in the world, but Zoro was shocked when a large group of soldiers in Reis Rosa held a black sword. It's a pity that Luffy's strength is not what it used to be. After 2 template restorations, coupled with the addition of the Strike King template, Luffy's strength surpasses the original Luffy. Luffy walked to the training room, looked at the target on the field, shook his fist casually, waved his hand, and flicked his right hand like a booster pump. Luffy started to turn red all over, and bursts of steam came out. Second gear. Luffy took a deep breath, and disappeared from the spot with a swish. Boom. A muffled sound echoed from the training room, and the targets in the entire training room exploded instantly. Advertisement. Rubber jet pistol. Luffy let out a low cry, his arm shot out like a bullet and retracted instantly, a clear fist mark appeared on the wall of the training room. One must know that this is a seastone warship, the walls of the training room are doped with a small amount of seastone powder, its hardness even surpassed that of steel. At this time, Luffy can already leave a clear fist mark on it. Not so far. Luffy frowned at his fist. Even with the tenacity talent of the Flash King template, it seems to be a little bit worse for armament hockey. But, Luffy pressed his arm on the heart and lightly pressed the heart, which was beating violently, to speed up again. The blood in the whole body began to flow at a high speed, and the muscles of the body tensed and became extraordinarily hard. Iron Body by Marine 6 Styles. By accelerating blood flow, muscle movement is accelerated, so that the body has iron-like hardness, which can easily prevent bullet attacks. Iron Body is the predecessor of armament hockey. Once you use Iron Body, your own speed will be weakened due to muscle stiffness. The first stage of armament hockey is when the Iron Body is cultivated to the top level and can be controlled at will without affecting the speed. Armor color hardened. Feeling the arm whose strength has risen by another stage 4.6 times, Luffy directly waved it out. Iron Body jet pistol. With a loud bang, the walls of the training room mixed with seastone powder were directly pierced by Luffy's fist. Luffy smiled slightly upon seeing this, sure enough. The particularity of rubber fruit allows it to have a power similar to armament hockey in second gear. The only difference may be that Luffy's fist in this state does not affect the elementalization of Logia demon fruit power. Luffy waved his aching arm and lifted his second gear. Such power combined with the top-level observation hockey is enough for this honor ceremony. Lord Luffy, Naval Headquarters has arrived. The Marine soldiers stationed outside the door swallowed their saliva and reported while looking at the dilapidated training room. Luffy put the cloak on her body and walked towards the door. Chapter 71 Get rid of those who don't respect fate. Advertisement. Hey, Marine, is this crazy? Newspapers followed by news birds released a shocking news throughout the world of pirates. Monkey D. Luffy, who's this? What's a Marine Commodore doing for an investiture ceremony? The #1 swordsman in the world that Hawkeye personally admits to be inferior to. Kill the Murloc Arlong, a member of the Sun Pirates. Are you kidding me? An unknown brat can make Marine boast so much. Just on Luffy's way to Naval Headquarters, news of Luffy's public honor spread across the seas and across the Grand Line. Among them, the most eye-catching one is the world's #1 swordsman who even thinks he is inferior to the Eagle Eye. Everyone looked at the news in front of them like a fool. No one believed that a mere Commodore dared to compare with the world's #1 swordsman, Hawkeye, from 7 warlords of the sea. Among the red hair pirates, Lajaloo and other cadres laughed and mocked their captain. Boss, haha, Luffy has become famous, and she really went to become a Marine. What about saying the same thing to Captain Roger? PFF'd, ha ha ha, is this the man who will become the Marine King? Everyone laughed and said strangely to Shanks. Go, go, go. Shanks gave everyone a blank look, whether he is a Marine or a pirate, don't forget that he is a rubber fruit capable person. Everyone laughed when they heard the words, and stopped talking. Beckman frowned and reminded Shanks. Whitebeard refused to communicate with us, the newcomer was beaten up and released, why? Do you want to go there yourself? Shanks suppressed his smile when he heard the words, frowned and thought. Now is not the time, the world government actually put Luffy on the bright side, is this trying to pour cold water on those lurking guys? Are you losing your bet? Ben Beckman asked with a faint smile, taking a puff of cigarette. Advertisement. It's still early. Sometimes what rubber fruit represents is beyond the control of the capable person himself. The redhead chuckled twice, otherwise, the world government wouldn't have never controlled this fruit for 800 years. And at this time the Whitebeard pirates. Whitebeard, holding a bottle in his hand, holds a newspaper about Luffy's news, Monkey D. Luffy. The D family. Is this the grandson of that Garp guy? Ace's brother. Marco on the side laughed and said. Ace also brags about his younger brother all day long, but he didn't expect to become a Marine. I really want to see what happens when the two brothers meet. You can't catch his big brother, right? Ha ha ha. Everyone burst into laughter when they heard the words, and they didn't think that Luffy, who had just been promoted to Commodore, was Ace's opponent. Whitebeard smiled slightly. For Ace, he is the candidate for the one piece that he puts his hopes on. If Jin thinks Kaido is the Joey Poi who brings change, then Whitebeard thinks Joey Poi is Ace. Originally, the redhead also thought so, so after he got the rubber fruit, he kept looking for the trace of Ace, but in the end he was swallowed by Luffy by accident. Later, Luffy and Roger said the same words, so Redhead decided to take a gamble and gave Luffy the straw hat representing freedom. Whitebeard threw the newspaper aside casually. Haha, for Ace's brother, let's have a banquet. Father, you can't drink, hey. Once in a while, yahahaha. Among Alabasta, Lock Doll looked at Luffy's photo disdainfully. The world's greatest swordsman, don't be afraid to blow to death. How can Hawkeye's strength be compared to this kind of trash who hasn't even entered the Grand Line? He casually threw the newspaper aside, turned to Robin who was dressed in white denim and asked, has Miss Wednesday's identity been investigated? Robin's brows jumped twice. No, not yet. Mr. 5 has been sent to investigate. I believe her true identity will be found out soon. Kay Lakadar nodded. Take Alabasta into your hands as soon as possible, and find out the location of the historical text. Okay. Robin backed out without saying a word, holding the newspaper with Luffy's photo in his hand thoughtfully. Advertisement. On the Grand Line, among the four seas, Kid, Apu, Hawkins and other supernovas looked at the reports in the newspaper and frowned. Kid looked at Luffy's photo with disdain. What marine supernova, marine has fallen to this point? Kira on the side waved the scimitar in his hand. If you kill him, I believe you can get a lot of rewards, right? Kid laughed. Let's wipe out this town and head to the Grand Line. Speaking of which, Kid controlled the iron knife and rushed directly towards the town, causing countless casualties in the town. And in North Blue, the blonde Hawkins is holding a card to keep telling fortune tellers, but as time goes by, Hawkins's eyes become more and more wrinkled. Impossible. Why can't this guy's fate be predicted? Since getting the straw fruit, Hawkinston, who has been relying on divination to plan his actions, feels a little confused. He is like a puppet controlled by devil fruit. Once the divination loses its effectiveness, he has no idea how to act. After a long silence, Hawkins tore up the news with Luffy's newspaper and said to the crew, let's go to the Grand Line. The reverent bow of the cult-like pirates should be, Captain, we are going to. Hawkins looked at Lu Fang, the big clay court player. Get rid of those who don't respect fate. Yoroj, Capone Bej, Jewelry Bonnie, Apu and others either disdain or don't care about Luffy's news. But Luffy's fame has spread throughout the world of pirates. At this time, the warship Luffy was on had arrived at Marineford, where naval headquarters was located, from the Gate of Justice. Everyone looked at the towering naval headquarters with shocking expressions. Rows of Marines wearing Justice cloaks stand on the Crescent Bay port. The Marines on the Grand Line exuded a terrifying aura, causing everyone to take a step back unconsciously. Only Zoro and Sanji just swayed slightly, their eyes full of dignity. Intuition told them that the strength of every Marine here is not inferior to Arlong. At this time, Luffy walked to the front wearing the Cloak of Justice. Looking at the pair of playful eyes below, the corner of Luffy's mouth twitched slightly, and the whole person appeared directly above the port. Blitz's Knockout King. Blitz. The ability to move faster than the speed of sound appeared in front of many Marines for the first time. Chapter 72. Everyone looks enthusiastic. Advertisement. Impossible. How could it be so fast? The pupils of the Marines who were watching the excitement at the port shrank, and they looked at Luffy who had appeared in front of them in horror, their eyes were full of disbelief. Yo, it seems that everyone is very enthusiastic. Luffy smiled and waved to everyone, shouldn't you all salute Commodore or something? The Marines were taken aback for a moment, and then looked at the thick-skinned Luffy in front of them speechlessly. Suddenly a major rushed out of the crowd. I saw him bowing his head and nodding to Luffy, complimenting him repeatedly. Master Luffy is indeed mighty, I still remember your heroic appearance in Barati. Everyone turned their heads to look at the source of the sound, and found that the person who came was Hobody, who had helped Luffy in the Barati restaurant. After the Creek pirates were wiped out, he was directly promoted to the rank of major with some military exploits. Ah, isn't this Hopper T? Yes, you're doing well. I've already told you that you must be right to hang out with me. I'll talk to my grandpa Garp another day and see if I can send you to go to training camp. Luffy looked at the Marine who was watching, and said to Hope with a smile. Although this guy is as timid as a mouse and narrow-minded, he has not colluded with pirates to oppress civilians like Colonel Mouse. In the original book, after being demoted, he only wanted to make contributions and resume his official position, and later he worked under Hina's subordinates. So for this guy who wants to hug his thigh, Luffy naturally doesn't mind giving some empty promises. Sometimes this kind of villain is more useful than that kind of dead-headed Marine who doesn't care about the overall situation. When the Marines around heard Luffy's self-introduction, the hostility of a part of the Marines towards Luffy subsided instantly. This turned out to be Garp's grandson. If true, it doesn't seem like a big deal to give a Commodore. That coxcomb head over there, that's right, it's you. What's your expression? If you don't agree, come and touch it. Luffy raised his eyebrows arrogantly at the future Marine Supernova Grunt and said. Nani. Grunt, who had red hair and was equipped with a weapon in his left hand, suddenly showed an angry expression on his face. Boy, others are afraid of you, but I am not afraid of you. Grunt yelled at Luffy frantically. I'm your brother. You'd better treat me with respect. Brother. Luffy looked at Grunt in surprise. Who are you hanging out with? Grunt, come on, you're Marine, B********************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************* Vice Admiral Garp, of course. Luffy's eyes lit up, and he suddenly thought of the idiot who took the initiative to apply to go to the frontline base in the future in an attempt to kill the ant. So it's you. Luffy suddenly showed a motherly smile. How is it? Do you want to come and hang out with me? This guy and Luffy are both 17 years old. 2 years later, Luffy can only say that he has a crushing victory against this guy. But this guy now has the position of Naval Headquarters Colonel, Grandmaster Marine 6 styles and has a weaponry that can destroy warships in one hit. If the original Luffy meets this guy, maybe it's not sure who will win. However, the current Luffy is not comparable to his strength. Gurren looked at Luffy disdainfully. I'm hanging out with Admiral Aokiji now, Commodore. Look at you. Oh, I think your military rank is just a colonel, set up a mere Commodore. Luffy said to Gurren with a smile. When Gurren heard the words, he was speechless, and his face was red with anger. At this time, Zoro and others also stepped down from the warship. As expected of Naval Headquarters, I feel that their strength is enough for me to use my full strength. Zoro looked around Marine excitedly. Sanji is not interested in fighting. Come with me, Hina, Vice Admiral Garp asked me to pick you up to the office. At this time, a female colonel with pink hair and a cigarette came out from the crowd. Sanji, who was originally indifferent, suddenly had red eyes in his eyes, and knelt down in front of Hina. Oh my god. There is such a heroic beauty in the world. Miss, are you interested in having dinner with me? As one of the few Marines in China, a pair of angry eyes stared at Sanji. The corners of Hina's mouth raised slightly, she opened her arms and hugged Sanji. Ah, is my spring coming? Sanji pouted and kissed Hina directly. However, in the next second, Hina's hands turned into black bands and tied up the nympho Sanji. The surrounding Marines laughed loudly when they saw this. This is Heijian Hina, wanting to eat her tofu is simply a dream. Hina glanced at Luffy proudly, then threw Sanji over. Let your soldiers be honest for a while, Hina is very angry. Zoro lifted Sanji up, held Sanji in disdain and taunted, you idiot. Huh, Chlorella head want to fight. Advertisement. It's all tied up, you perverted cook. Let go of me, I'm going to kill him. Boom, boom. There were 2 muffled sounds, and a huge swollen lump appeared on the heads of the 2 of them. You 2 idiots give me peace of mind. Nami yelled frantically behind the 2, if you want to make trouble, look at the place. Zoro and Sanji looked up at the Marine watching and snorted twice, and stopped talking to each other. Luffy stepped forward, smiling and grabbed the iron fence wrapped around Sanji's body. Hey, isn't he trying to break off Hina's black sill with his hands? That thing is comparable to steel. Hina also looked at Luffy jokingly. She didn't think Luffy could break the steel fence she made with Luffy's strength. However, they underestimated Luffy's physical fitness at this time. With the template bonus, Luffy's physical strength has reached the edge of awakening armament hockey. In Alabasta, Zoro understood the move of cutting iron, not to mention Luffy at this time. I saw Luffy holding the black threshold with both hands, the muscles in his arms bulged, and a deep palm print was instantly made on the steel. Luffy pulled it out hard, and the black barrier was stretched and pulled off Sanji like Li Qian's noodles. The surrounding Marines looked at Luffy in horror. What a terrifying power. Be aware that armament hockey is an enhancement of physical hardness, not a physical enhancement. Although many of these people have cultivated armament hockey, there are really few who can break steel with bare hands. There was also a trace of solemnity in Hina's eyes. She did not expect that Luffy's seemingly thin body contained such a powerful force. Let's go, Beauty Chin. Luffy's voice came from behind Hina, and she just felt an arm climb around her waist. Hina's pupils shrank suddenly, so fast. His hands turned into iron bars again and were tied behind him. However, in the next second, Luffy appeared in front of her innocently with his hands spread out. Hina took a deep look at Luffy, turned her head and walked towards naval headquarters. Luffy smiled, waved his hands and followed. Chapter 73 Uncle Kizaru said he called experts directly. Advertisement. Yo, old man. Luffy walked into Sengoku's marshal's office without any hesitation. As the kid very dancing recently. Garp yelled at Luffy, how dare you destroy the entire 16th branch marine. Even if they colluded with pirates and violated discipline, they should be handed over to the Enies lobby court for trial and sentence. After yelling, Garp calmly glanced at Sengoku who was holding the file next to him. Sengoku put down the document in his hand with contempt. Okay, stop acting in front of me, I don't want to do anything to him, this is the Commodore promoted by 5 elders himself. Ahahaha, thank you very soon, Uncle Sengoku, if you have anything to do in the future, you can just go to him directly. Garp didn't care what the so-called face was, and recommended to Luffy loudly. Luffy decisively borrowed the donkey on the slope and gave a direct military salute. Hello, Uncle Sengoku. Zoro and the others behind him twitched their lips when they saw their captain's shamelessness. Only Luffy knows that the big guy in front of him is really his own. During the Summit War, Sengoku punched down Luffy and deflected the attack with a rubber balloon, but when it came to Blackbeard, Sengoku almost missed the group with a punch. Such a double-standard behavior, Kizaru old uncle saw it and called it an expert. 430. Let me tell you the purpose of this visit. Sengoku looked at Luffy's address and did not respond, but instead said to Luffy, due to the loss of control of New World in recent years, the number of pirates in the Four Seas has increased sharply. Except for East Blue, several pirate groups known as pirate supernovas have appeared in the other 3 major regions. Now Marine urgently needs to set an example to boost the morale of Marines. Originally, Gurrent's qualifications and strength are more suitable for this model than you, but 5 elders don't know what's wrong. Cough, 5 elders personally named you and ordered you to be established as a Marine supernova of this generation. All you have to do is enter the Grand Line, exercise your strength, and then snipe other pirate supernovas. It was only at this time that Luffy realized that the ceremony of promoting himself to the Commodore on such a large scale had such a meaning. I'm fine with that, but supernovas aren't that easy to find, are they? You must know that in the original timeline, these pirate supernovae gathered on the Sabaody archipelago almost at the same time. It means that the Marines did not complete their sniping in the first half of the Grand Line. Advertisement. You don't have to worry about these, the intelligence department of the world government will provide you with corresponding BEB information. When the time comes, just run after them like your grandfather Garp, you don't have to catch them, the world government will promote your reputation to boost morale. Of course if you can catch the best, Sengoku said casually, and then looked at Zoro and the others, but with your current strength, you may not be able to beat them. Ha, Zoro shook the long knife in his hand unconvinced. Luffy waved his hand, signaling Zoro not to be impulsive, and save himself being rubbed on the ground. Oh, and, Sengoku said to Luffy with a sudden chuckle, the officers below seem to be very dissatisfied with you being a model marine. Originally, this group of people planned to give you a direct discussion when you docked, but they were suppressed by your grandfather. Luffy looked at Garp in surprise, when did this old man be so protective? However, in the next second, what Sengoku said almost made Luffy spit out a mouthful of old blood. Your grandfather proposed to approve this group of Marines to challenge you face to face on the day of the award ceremony, and broadcast the whole process live to Four Seas and New World, so I'm here to ask for your opinion. Sengoku smiled and said to Luffy, your grandpa seems to be very confident in your strength. I also want to see what kind of strength the great swordsman who can make Hawkeye admit that he is ashamed. Luffy heard that the veins on his forehead were exposed, but he didn't expect that it was his own grandfather Garp who cheated him. Could it be that he was revenge for letting him kneel down at that time? Garp laughed loudly and patted Luffy on the shoulder. Don't be humble. Show your strength to make Hawkeye kneel down, and show those 5 old men from the world government how awesome my grandson Garp is. Don't worry, he will level up, officers won't take action, you only need to deal with school level ones. The corners of Luffy's lips twitched when he heard this. What the hell, Li Jing was his template back then, if he still had that template, wouldn't he be afraid of mere challenges? Your knees are swollen. But his template at this time is no longer a bug template at the level of causality. Although it has a terrifying bonus in speed, the consumption of physical strength is also terrifying. College-level officers also want to fight Luffy. Before Luffy opened his mouth, Zoro said confidently, "Let those generals join in too. Luffy is my ultimate goal of pursuing the strongest swordsmanship. How could I be defeated by such a group of small shrimps?" Luffy's eyelids twitched when he heard the words, "This FCK has been fooled too much. If it's a vice admiral player, lousy can't beat him, B****************. D. Luffy coughed dryly. Ahem, this is pretty good, let's just go to the school level, if the general level is also defeated by me, Marine will lose face, right? Advertisement. Zoro behind him nodded regretfully. Yes, for the sake of the overall situation, I wanted to take this opportunity to learn more about your swordsmanship. Luffy's heart was broken at this moment. Learn from your uncle. Sengoku nodded to everyone. If you have nothing to do, let Colonel Hina take you to the dormitory to rest. The award is expected to be at noon tomorrow. Take a good rest, recharge your batteries, and give the group of guys with high eyesight in the headquarters a good lesson. Recently, everyone has drifted away, and there is not even a newcomer who can see past. Immediately, Hina prepared to take Luffy and others to retreat. However, Luffy coughed dryly twice. Uncle Sengoku, there is something else I need to report to you. Sengoku looked up at Luffy in surprise. What's the matter? Luffy pointed to Buggy the clown who was trembling behind him. I want to remove this guy's bounty and get it down to work. Quote. Buggy the clown. Sengoku glanced at Buggy, a former member of the Roger Pirates. Buggy's scalp went numb when he heard that Sengoku knew everything about him. Haha, haha, intern. I haven't heard of this guy committing any major crimes in these years. He has been nesting in East Blue and running around, and he doesn't care much. What do you want him to do? Sengoku put down the document in his hand and asked. Poor. Luffy cried with snot and tears. The old man asked me to save my military merits to save money to buy a ship, but my little salary can save enough money for a warship. Doesn't it mean that this guy is very clever, so I'm going to ask him to set up a courier company, deliver couriers on the Grand Line, and dig up treasure maps by the way. Sengoku was taken aback after hearing this. Didn't you let him join Marine? As far as he is doing nothing, even I despise the person who lost our Marine, isn't this taking advantage of his status as a member of the Roger Pirates and a red-haired brother to make some extra money? Luffy smiled and said to Sengoku, you want him to be a Shichibukai? Sengoku squinted his eyes and looked at Luffy after hearing this. Haha, how come Hai has no vacancies now haha? Luffy smiled awkwardly. I couldn't help muttering in my heart, I underestimated the legendary the resourceful general. Chapter 74 Prince Luffy's Terrible Relationships. Advertisement. Why is the world government able to control the largest armed force on the sea, the Marine? In addition to the thought control of the so-called creation royal family, in essence, celestial dragons control countless huge treasures. Marine warships, technological research and development, personnel supplies, marine salaries, not to mention the bounties of pirates all over the sea, all of these require extremely huge financial support. And celestial dragons, who have controlled the world for 800 years, is not an exaggeration to say that they even own more than 80% of the wealth of the entire pirate world. A random slave can create a golden emperor, and the priceless devil fruit is just a toy for slaves to please themselves in the eyes of celestial dragons. Without the support of funds, the entire marine system will fall apart in an instant. That's why 5 elders dared to curse directly in front of Akainu, your face is nothing. In their view, the so-called martial marine is nothing more than a dog raised by the world government. If it is disobedient, kill it and replace it with another one. Even Lu Chi, who is directly under the CPO of celestial dragons, dared to show his face to Akainu, which is enough to show how much the deterrence of martial marine has declined after Akainu came to power. And Luffy wants to get funds, it is naturally impossible to live on his own salary. And if you want to get out of the grip of the world government, you must have a unique source of income. As a marine, it is impossible to collect heavenly gold like celestial dragons, and it is impossible to burn, kill and loot like pirates. Then there are only 2 paths left, trade routes and earn bounties. And these 2 routes are precisely the model of the arms business of 7 warlords of the Sea Doflamingo, and the Barlock work agency of K. Lock Dar. And it just so happens that I am familiar with the strategies of these 2 people, so I am really sorry for my identity as a time traveler if I don't get the money of the 2 of them. It just so happens that Buggy's complex background and identity are enough to replace his identity as Doflamingo and succeed him as Jork. Advertisement. After all, whether it is the identity of the crew of One Piece or the identity of a red-haired friend, it is enough to make him enjoy both black and white. The only thing missing is a legal identity. As long as I get rid of Kelkadar and say hello to Garp and Sengoku in advance, I won't have to worry about Pele in the future. At this point Sengoku didn't know that Luffy had already set his mind on Lock Doll and Doflamingo. Sengoku knocked on the table and said, the bounty order can be revoked, Shichibukai is definitely useless, we can't recruit a special Shichibukai, Buggy is not enough to replace anyone, but as long as he doesn't attack civilians or marines, you can let the people below turn a blind eye to him. Buggy was overjoyed when he heard the words, this treatment is no different from Shichibukai, that is, he can plunder pirates openly and take the treasures for himself. You must know that this is a privilege that only 7 warlords of the sea has. Luffy also nodded in satisfaction. Yes, that's enough. Anyway, Luffy has already made up his mind to go back to Alabasta to kill Lock Dar. As a Marine, I will definitely not be voluntarily recruited by Robin. In this case, I simply integrate the Bar Lock Work Agency first, and then trick Robin over. Perfect. Uncle Sengoku, I withdrew first, and the old man, I dug up the former East Blue Genius Marine sniper. You train people, I lack people on this ship. Luffy casually threw Duddy and Guy Luoer father and daughter to Garp, and ran away before he could react. Garp looked at the embarrassed daddy in astonishment, and then he laughed. This kid Tong Quan is causing trouble for me. Sengoku looked at Garp with distaste. You can pull it down, I don't think you are troublesome. Garp laughed twice and turned to look at Duddy. Daddy with a child, the former East Blue Marine's first talent sniper, Lieutenant Junior grade rank, because of losing a duel with red hair pirates Usopp, he fell into a slump, and then quit Marine. Been hunting some bounties for small bounties in the town of Rog with my daughter. Garp read out Duddy's information in detail. Advertisement. Usopp. Sengoku was taken aback for a moment, then lost his voice, the #1 sniper of the red hair pirates. Asking for flowers. Garp nodded. I once asked Smoker to try to persuade this guy to return to the Marine, but unfortunately he was rejected. Unexpectedly, my grandson persuaded him. Seeing the irresponsible Luffy throwing himself to Garp, Duddy ignored him, so he hesitated and said to Garp, Vice Admiral Garp, Chief Luffy said to ensure the safety of my daughter. Garp took a look at Guy Luoer, and Guy Luoer, who was as big as a kid, ran directly to Garp's feet and stared at Garp with big watery eyes. Grandpa Garp is good. Garp was immediately elated when he was called. Hello, you will be my granddaughter from now on, and this old boy will be your second grandfather, and you will follow your second grandfather to find a house in the small town behind. Let me see who dares to bully you. Garp, who was called Luffy, the old man, and the old man since he was a child, felt relieved when he saw such an obedient little girl. Sengoku on the side rolled his eyes speechlessly, but didn't speak. Since his grandson became a Marine, this guy's state is different every day, even his work has become a lot more active. Naturally, there is no need to bother with him about such a small matter. At this time, Duddy was full of unexpected surprises. Originally, he just wanted to find a way out for Guy Luoer, but he didn't expect to find two backers directly. With these two, as long as naval headquarters is not demolished, I don't think I will have to worry about sleeping on the streets after my death. Duddy gave a military salute to Garp and Sengoku excitedly. The subordinates are always on standby and ready to fight. Garp nodded. You will go find that old guy Zephyr with me later. Your talent has been wasted for a long time. It is time to train hard. Duddy's face became even more joyful when he heard the words. He never thought that he would have the opportunity to train under the former Marine Admiral Black Arm Zephyr. This is the dream I have been working hard for. Today's Marine and Admiral are all Zephyr's apprentices. For the first time, Duddy felt that he really followed the right person, as expected of Garp's grandson. This connection is really terrifying. Chapter 75 I am not targeting you, everyone here. Advertisement. Marineford ushered in unprecedented excitement. Numerous Marines stood in a square formation on the huge Crescent Base Square. A video phone bug was carried on the shoulders of a reporter and aimed at the Marine below. Lieutenant and above Marine wears a coat with Justice written on the back and matches it with the standard uniform. Officers and above become the image of a Justice coat with personalized casual clothes. Although there is not such a huge lineup as some at war, all the Marines standing on the square are above the rank of lieutenant. The picture on the square was broadcast live to all over the world, which is different from some at war, which was worried that Marine would fail, so it only broadcast live simultaneously on Sabaody Archipelago. The award ceremony was broadcast live worldwide. Even the New World and the countries that have separated from the world government are broadcast live by the news agency simultaneously. This made everyone, 027, seem unbelievable. Hey, Marine, is this crazy? How can a little Commodore do this? Marco and the Whitebeard pirates are watching the live broadcast on an island at this time. The densely packed Colonel and Lieutenant Marines made their scalps tingle. It is indeed the biggest force above the sea. In terms of the bottom-level combat power alone, unless the four emperors join forces, it is impossible to fight against it. After all, unlike the pirates' wild background, Marine has its own standard training system. You can train a large number of general-level Marine soldiers. Also Whitebeard laughed. It's definitely not just awarding honors. No one knows what that guy Sengoku is doing. After all, he used to be the resourceful General Sengoku. While speaking, Sengoku followed Garp and Crane Vice Admiral to appear in the screen. In the screen, there are no 3 Admiral and Marine Vice Admiral level Marines. Obviously, in order to prevent the pirates from sneak attacking while the base is empty, all the Vice Admirals have been transferred to the branch Marine base to sit in town. Shot to Sengoku. Sengoku stood on the high platform holding a loudspeaker phone and looked at the officers below with serious expressions. War is coming. Sengoku's first sentence made the world tremble, and everyone didn't know what Sengoku meant. Those who want to escape, escape now. Advertisement. And there is no cowardice allowed here. We are the bastion of peace in the age of pirates. The weakness of the people is not their fault. Justice is here. As long as there are powerful evil forces on the sea, we Marine will do our best to expel them. Sengoku glanced at Fang Mo's silent Marine, and shouted loudly. In the name of absolute justice. Below, Marine's excited blood churned and shouted loudly, drink. This old guy, Whitebeard said, looking helplessly at Sengoku in the frame. No wonder the whole live broadcast was started. This passage is the real purpose of Sengoku. He gave the whole world a shot in the arm and planted the seeds of resistance in advance for the uncontrolled islands of New World. Pirates are evil, and Marines are just, which is beyond doubt in the eyes of the public. At this time, Sengoku magnified this kind of justice and evil countless times. With these foreshadowing, Marines' actions on the Grand Line will definitely reduce a lot of obstacles. Sengoku suppressed the cheers of the soldiers below, and continued to speak to the crowd. This is an award, but also a military exercise. Next up is our new naval headquarters Commodore Marine Supernova Monkey D. Luffy accepting the challenge of tenure. Any school-level military officer who can defeat Luffy Commodore will be promoted to a higher rank and his salary will be doubled. The eyes of all the school-level officers lit up when they heard the words. Originally, they just wanted to give this so-called supernova a lesson, but they didn't expect that there would be additional benefits. Luffy, who hadn't entered the venue yet, turned dark when he heard the words. Does your uncle not give you a way out? Although it was not as exaggerated as the 100,000 elites of Summit War, there were hundreds of school-level officers present. Are you really going to let me call them one by one? Zoro on the side gave himself a thumbs up. Go to Luffy and let them see what kendo is. Nami punched Zoro on the head. Are you an idiot? That's hundreds of naval headquarters colonels. What are you afraid of? You haven't seen this guy's true strength at all. Advertisement. Sanji on the side also had a relaxed expression on his face. At that time, Hawkeye's knife split the sea, and he didn't even move. Don't let him underestimate your captain. Really? Nami looked suspiciously at Luffy, who was somewhat silent. Luffy. Boyle. In the stands, 3 old men and women over half a century old were muttering in low voices. Are you sure Luffy can handle it? No problem, right, that's my trained grandson after all. You can pull it down. Can you train a swordsman who can defeat Hawkeye? To be honest, I don't remember that Luffy can use a sword, but when East Blue met him, his sword intent was a bit interesting. As long as the sword keeps on, even I can't move. Is it that strong? He doesn't seem to know hockey yet, right? What if he breaks with a sword? Didn't the gang of Black Cat pirates say that this guy can use his sword intent out of thin air? It shouldn't be a big problem, and he can also play with water. Whether we win or lose this time, we can let the world see the strength of our naval headquarters. I believe those who want to be pirates will definitely weigh it. If Luffy knew that they had counted the abilities of all the templates he had been using, he would probably vomit blood and curse. FK, that's a temporary cheat, it's expired, okay. Fortunately, only school-level officers made the move this time, and this martial arts exercise is also of real benefit to him in establishing his prestige in the Marine. Luffy took a deep breath, carried Samahata on his back, and held a big sword in his hand, and walked up to the stage step by step under the watchful eyes of many camera phone bugs. 4.2 He rolled his eyes at the 3 old and unscrupulous guys who were muttering, and snatched the phone bug from Sengoku's hand. Monkey D. Luffy, I'm the grandson of this guy, everyone may recognize me. Luffy pointed at Garp amidst everyone's stunned expressions. I know you are all upset with me, and I also know that you think my military rank came through the back door. Now I'm giving you a chance. Luffy looked around at the school-level officer below and continued. The next thing I say is not aimed at you. As long as everyone here can fall down on this martial arts stage, I will voluntarily give up this promotion. So now, Luffy took off the shark muscles on his back and pointed at the crowd. Let's go together. Chapter 76. Let you know what two swords style is. Advertisement. The generals below were stunned for a moment. Immediately, a contemptuous anger appeared on his face. Groant blushed and shouted, I've never seen anyone more arrogant than me. Luffy jumped down from the stands and said with a smile, Hey, you saw it today. Come on, I can't stand it. You all get out of the way. Let me teach him a lesson. At this time, a burly, dark-skinned man stepped out of the formation. The yellow clover shirt he wore proved that he was a Marine colonel. This fellow is Burnham, the subordinate of Marine Admiral Aokiji. I heard that he is a 6th-style genius, and he has made a lot of enhancements to the 6th style. I heard that this guy is also one of the candidates for the supernova, so it's been a long time since he was cut off. This guy is going to be unlucky. Everyone looked at Luffy mockingly. Burnham's strength was relatively strong among Colonel Marine. The first stage of breathing and blowing qigong. Replenishment method. Burnham yelled and put his hands in a strange pose. I saw his originally huge arms soared again. Finger pistol. Burnham roared. The huge arm stretched suddenly and pointed directly towards Luffy. It's so strong. You've already cultivated to return 14 of your life, right? You can freely control the energy in your body. As far as his finger is concerned, it's not just a finger pistol, it's just a finger gun. Wouldn't it be death or disability if you get hit? The Marines watched in awe at Burnham's giant arms. Broadcast lived to the world. The public was also shocked when they saw Burnham's performance. Is this the strength of the Marine? Zoro and Sanji frowned. They still underestimated the strength of these Marines. They were not strong enough to compete with them when they just went to sea. You must know that you have experienced layers of adventures, and it was not until the capital of the Seven Waters that everyone came into contact with the CP9 of the Grandmaster 6 styles. Now they can barely see a vague afterimage. Zoro's face was a little ugly, and he tightly held his word of harmony. A Marine with such strength is actually just a colonel. So how strong is Hawkeye compared to 4 emperors and admiral? How terrifying is Luffy's swordsmanship? Advertisement. At this time, Zoro's mind is full of the word, becoming stronger. At this time, Sanji also knew that Zapu, who had returned from sailing on the Grand Line for a year, was far inferior to the group of marine colonels. Then he turned his attention to some female officers at the side, his eyes suddenly turned into red hearts. It's really not suitable for me to fight and kill, and the ladies of the marine are more attractive than ordinary beauties. Usopp. Nami. At this time, Luffy shook his head when he saw the finger pistol attacking him. It's too slow. Immediately, he leaned slightly to one side, rubbing Luffy's face with his arm and hitting the ground of the arena. With a bang, the stone slab exploded as if it had been bombed by a shell. All the viewers watching the live broadcast broke into a cold sweat for Luffy. Still quite agile, but it's not over yet. Finger pistol Huang Lien. Burnham roared, and shot towards Luffy with both hands like dense lotus seeds in the lotus pod. Luffy yawned and walked straight towards Burnham's finger. One after another finger pistol rubbed against Luffy's body, and Burnham turned into a stroke master, stirring up bursts of gravel behind Luffy. This is. The pirates of New World were taken aback. Observation Haki. To be able to walk around in such a dense attack, this guy's observation Haki is already quite high. It seems that this Commodore, who relies on connections, is not so unreliable. Burnham looked at Luffy, who was getting closer and closer to him, with a look of embarrassment flashing across his face. I saw that the speed of his hands was raised to another level, relying on sacrificing power to shoot out air bullets. Flying finger pistol pull. Burnham yelled. Don't be too arrogant. I'm a 6-style genius. Tempest kick. A slashing wave mixed with the finger pistol and slashed towards Luffy. However, in front of Luffy of the full-level observation Haki, these attacks are easily dodged by Luffy like snails. Burnham yelled angrily. Will you just run away? However, the next second, Luffy disappeared directly from his vision and appeared in front of him. Nani. So fast. Advertisement. Burnham's expression changed. Yes. I saw the muscles all over his body tense, and his body suddenly became as hard as steel. Goulart, who was watching, changed his face and shouted, don't use iron body. This guy's strength is outrageous. Huh. Burnham looked at Goulart in a daze. However, Luffy's fist had landed on Burnham's chest. Boom. With a loud bang, Burnham was sent flying like a volleyball, knocking down an unknown number of marines along the way. Luffy stood on the spot and retracted his arms and shook his head. May there be no iron body in heaven. This has become a meme in Luffy's previous life, but anyone who uses iron body to defend will not have a good end. The weak ones can't be used, and the strong ones can't be defended. When using iron body, the movement speed is slow, which is a must-have skill for death. Sengoku in the stands asked Garp strangely, didn't you teach him the 6 forms? That's for sure. He didn't intend to be a marine before, so why would I hand him 6 styles? UB*************, D. Sengoku looked at Garp admiringly. Although his son became the leader of the Revolutionary Army and adopted Ace, the son of the One Piece, he has never disappointed people in righteousness. The 6 forms are a unique training technique among world government and marine, but because they were worried about being leaked out, even Luffy didn't teach them. Sengoku looked at Luffy and said, however, your grandson's explosive power is a bit outrageous. The power technique without shaving has already surpassed the speed of shaving with pure strength. Garp laughed loudly when he heard the words. That's right, don't you look at whose grandson it is. Sengoku looked at Garp with contempt. What about his face? His strength has nothing to do with you. You said before that this guy only has the strength of seaman recruit. I'm humble. Do you understand modesty? While Garp and Sengoku were arguing, the marines below can also see that Luffy's powerful strength is not something he can win alone. But Luffy's arrogant attitude is really hard to see. Hundreds of people looked around at each other, and all started gearing up for Luffy. Luffy chuckled, and muttered in a low voice, it should have been like this a long time ago. If it's a wheel-to-wheel battle, I really can't beat it. After all, at this time, Luffy's physical strength is simply not enough to destroy this group of school-level officers. I saw Luffy slowly holding the shark muscles on his back in his left hand, and slowly pulling out the odachi that belonged to the Lightning King with his right hand. Today, I will let you all know what is called two-sword style. Chapter 77. This group of people catch swords so fast. Advertisement. Don't blame me, there is no other way. Luffy looked at the officers slowly surrounding him and made an amen sign. The whole person directly entered the second steam state. Zoro frowned as he watched Luffy pull out his dagger. He decisively pulled Nami and others back towards the periphery of the square. Green Algae Head, what are you doing? What are you running behind? Sanji watched reluctantly as the crowd gradually moved away from the square. I have a bad feeling. Zoro looked at Luffy in the middle of the square from afar. The next second, Luffy moved. I saw the Teidao in his hand swung forward violently. Under the solemn gaze of all, with a soft snap, Sengoku appeared in front of Luffy in a half-kneeling position and clamped Luffy's sword with both hands. For a time, the whole world fell silent. That's right, it was the whole world. Everyone watched in bewilderment as Martial Marine half-knelt on the ground and clamped Luffy's sword. Zanguo looked at Luffy in bewilderment. Who I am? Where am I? What am I doing? Luffy watched Sengoku's eyes twitch. I wipe, it's not so unlucky. This first sword directly brought Sengoku over. Luffy put away the sword in embarrassment, looked at Sengoku with a dark face and apologized. Ah, what, do you believe me when I said I didn't mean it? The surrounding marines looked confused, not knowing what was going on. How awesome is this Luffy's sword? Even Sengoku was worried about him hacking himself to death and then going down himself to stop him from swinging the sword. Thinking of this, everyone involuntarily took 2 steps back. Sengoku glared at Luffy with a dark face, got up and jumped back to the stands. Garp on the side laughed loudly when he saw this. PFF'd, haha. Why did you run to catch the sword? Is my grandson's supreme sword intent awesome? Sengoku glared at Garp viciously. Shut up. Luffy below looked at the Marines who retreated around and comforted him awkwardly. I'm sorry, I made some mistakes, don't worry, it will definitely not happen this time. Saying that, Luffy swung the sword again. Everyone. Advertisement. Luffy. Well, Master Sengoku, why don't we stay away? My heart can't take it when you're so old. Luffy looked at Sengoku who reappeared in front of him in pain and suggested in a low voice. There are thousands of Marines in the huge square, why did they get Martial Marine under him twice in a row? Is there any hidden attribute of being 100% caught empty-handed? The bigger the official, the higher the success rate. It's not scientific. Luffy sighed helplessly. You are really unlucky. At this time, Hawkeye looked at the live broadcast on the screen with a serious face. Is this the sword of immortality? Could it be that Luffy is warning Sengoku? Even Sengoku can't resist his supreme sword intent. He is indeed a great swordsman who surpasses me. Hawkeye looked at Luffy's face full of admiration, knowing that Sengoku is the only one in Marine who has Conqueror's Haki. His reigning justice speaks volumes for Sengoku's willpower. Unexpectedly, he knelt down in front of Luffy twice in a row. It seems that it is normal for me to lose to Luffy. Sengoku stood up from Luffy again. I know you have resentment for this competition, but if you come at me again, you will lose this competition. I didn't go after you, Luffy yelled. Something went wrong in my practice recently, this move is not stable. Sengoku directly talked to Luffy lazily, this time he stepped back 3 kilometers away and looked at Luffy from a distance. Garp and Crane Vice Admiral also hurriedly followed, and the next person who went out of the field became himself. Except for the hundreds of school-level officers who fought against Luffy in the square, the rest of the people were just like the original Zoro, running outside the square, as if they were avoiding the plague. After a while, only Luffy and hundreds of officers were left alone in Crescent Bay Square, which can accommodate 100,000 people. Then shall we begin? Luffy tentatively asked Marine who was looking at each other. Come on. Burnham took the lead and rushed towards Luffy directly on the razor. Hundreds of others followed Burnham. It's a pity that they really underestimated Luffy's shamelessness. I saw Luffy's right hand Tachi and left hand shark muscle. With a wave of the Taidao, a Marine knelt down to receive the white blade instantly, and the shark muscle of the other hand directly smashed the kneeling Marine into the air like a big hammer. A lot of physical strength was swallowed by Samahata and then countered to Luffy who was in second gear. Everyone watching the battle frowned. Especially Hawkeye, who was sipping red wine, spit out the red wine in one sip. I'm RNM. This is what you said about the Sword of Immortality. Where's the face? Zoro covered his eyes and rubbed his eyebrows vigorously. Sure enough. The rest of the crew looked at Luffy in astonishment, like a whack-a-mole machine, swinging their knives and smashing them. The originally passionate performance of martial arts has now turned into a farce. Advertisement. The people watching the live broadcast were stunned. Is this an exhibition game? Why did they all run to pick up other people's knives one by one, and then they were thrown flying? Isn't this a joke? The pants are all off, so you just show us this. Isn't this bullying? We are not fools. One by one, we ran up to pick up other people's knives and were thrown away. This is what normal people can do. The colonels who participated in the martial arts performance were also depressed and wanted to vomit blood. Luffy's speed in second gear is simply not what they can catch up with. Not to mention the bonus of the Strike King. This made it impossible for hundreds of school-level powerhouses to even touch Luffy's clothes. They could only watch helplessly as a companion disappeared with a swish beside them, and was thrown back with a muffled sound the next moment. What made them vomit blood even more was that originally everyone was thinking about exhausting Luffy's physical strength, but as time went by, everyone discovered that this guy didn't even sweat, let alone breathe. On the contrary, it became more and more lively. On the other hand, the Marines who were thrown into the air by Samahata looked like they hadn't eaten for days. If you have the guts, don't run away. Marine Supernova Goulart blushed with anger. Luffy unhurriedly threw a colonel into the air again. Where did I run away? This is called a strategic transfer. Come and chase me. If you catch me, I'll let you he. Sengoku in the stands is almost autistic at this time. It was agreed to carry forward the fighting power of my big Marine, the mighty Haki, but it turned out to be messed up by Luffy. Seeing Luffy getting more and more proud, everyone in Sengoku couldn't help shouting at the adjutant beside him, this is the end. Stop the live broadcast for me. The adjutant trembled and hurried to contact the reporters. Wang Qinhao. For a while, the live broadcast screens in various places lost their pictures. Why is it dark? It's exciting to watch. Anything interesting is an exhibition match. Maybe it's because you think it's not good for children to fight and kill. But the speed of the Marines is nothing to say, especially the speed of receiving the sword, the guy is like teleporting. For a while, there were discussions all over the world about this martial arts performance. Only some strong men from New World looked dignified. When did Marine become so powerful? As far as the speed of receiving the sword, even I can't keep up with it. What's even more frightening is that this group of Marines seems to have that terrifying speed. Although their acting is quite fake, the speed cannot be faked. That said, It's clear that Marine is taking this Luffy back to show us what their Marines are capable of. That is to say, this Commodore is definitely a tool man. For a time, the whole world began to discuss this martial arts performance like a child's play. Chapter 78. Marine harms King Luffy. Advertisement. Mr. Sengoku, don't bring such an hole. What about the promised rewards? Didn't I win? You can't blame me for the poor viewing. I want a Seastone warship. Uncle Kizaru, you comment, shouldn't I be rewarded? In Marshal Sengoku's office, Luffy earnestly lobbied Sengoku, who had a black face like the bottom of a pot, and fully utilized the advantages of a thick rubber skin to ultimate. Get out. All the soldiers under your command have been promoted to the rank of major for you. What warship do you need? Sengoku couldn't help shouting at Luffy, let you promote Marine's military power. Look at Marine as almost a laughingstock now. Didn't our prestige increase a lot in New World? Luffy muttered softly. There's a ball for that. We Marine just have a base in New World. Sengoku looked at Luffy's innocent face and couldn't help but go crazy again. The so-called insiders look at the doorway, and laymen watch the fun. At this time, the One Piece world's evaluation of this martial arts award ceremony is extremely polarized. In New World, the pirates with good eyesight naturally feel that Marine's strength has improved a lot. However, the first half of Deweyhang 170 and most of the world think that this is a farce purely to please Garp and make Luffy famous. At this time, the entire pirate world, except for Hawkeye, is familiar with the guy who broadcasts the fake martial arts live broadcast all over the world. Sengoku was so angry that one Buddha ascended to heaven and two Buddhas vented his anger. Just ordered that this scourge be sent back to Rog. As a result, this guy even brazenly asked himself for a Seastone warship that only Vice Admiral had. What's even more exasperating is that I didn't ask for it for myself, but for that clown Buggy. Sengoku was so angry that he almost transformed and sent this shameless guy away. Kizaru, who was sitting in Sabaody during the martial arts performance, saw this scene as soon as he came back. Uncle Kizaru, hey, don't be in a daze, tell me, I'll give you shares after the Buggy Express company is established. Luffy looked at the dazed Kizaru, poked him twice and said. Kizaru, messenger, who told you to let this be ******** D in? Can anyone in the marshal's office come in? Drive him out. Sengoku clutched his chest and growled loudly. Soon two soldiers walked in outside the door and carried Luffy out. Advertisement. What sin did I do? Why do I feel that Garp's grandson might as well become a pirate? Remember it for me in the future. As long as this kid comes to me, tell me I'm not here. Sengoku swears and throws Luffy's application for warship approval to his own goat. Kizaru scratched his head. This is the grandson of Vice Admiral Garp. He seems to be right, and it's okay to give him a warship. Deducted from your pay, Sengoku said without looking up. Kizaru said sternly. I don't think he is suitable to pilot a Seastone warship with his current strength. After all, it belongs to our Marine's secret. On the other side, Luffy tidied up her wrinkled justice cloak. What the hell, stingy. Then he looked at Zoro who was waiting outside. At this time he was far away from him, afraid that people would know that he knew Luffy. After all, as far as the current naval headquarters is concerned, officers above the school level all hate it, but there is nothing they can do about it. Yo, Zoro. Luffy greeted Zoro in the distance. The surrounding Marines looked at Zoro in unison. Immediately, Zoro felt the oppressive sense of mourning. Zoro bit the bullet and picked up Luffy and ran directly towards Joey's warship. At this time, Nami and others were already on the warship waiting to return. Wait until Zoro returns to the warship with Luffy. Buggy looked at Luffy excitedly and asked, how is it? Hearing that Luffy went to help him get the Seastone warship, he couldn't be more excited. Luffy broke free from Zoro's arm, with a look of disgust on his face. Yeah, cross the river and tear down the bridge, and they won't even give you any benefits after using it up. When Buggy heard this, his face was filled with disappointment. In the end, I didn't get any benefits in the end. Usopp shook his head in disappointment. I can't even say that. Nami chuckled and dropped a bunch of wallets from his clothes. Oh, formidable. Everyone looked at Nami in admiration, not feeling that this kind of theft was an illegal act. Advertisement. Joey's on the side looked at this group of officers who were already at the field level with black lines all over their heads, and none of them had the awareness that a Marine should have. After Joey's put the group of guys in the town of Rog, they left the port on a warship as if fleeing. He was afraid that Luffy could not help but dismantle the Seastone keel of this warship and install it on his own ship. See you later, Joey's. Luffy waved his hand at the departing warship and shouted. Zoro on the side said speechlessly, I guess I don't want to see you again in this life. Then there was a shout in the distance. Luffy Commodore. Everyone turned their heads and saw Tashigi running from a distance holding Shiger with an excited face. Behind him is Smoker, smoking a cigar. You really are surprising enough. Smoker said to Luffy with a cigarette in his mouth, even I watched the live broadcast and wanted to give you 2 punches. It's a pity that you didn't go, maybe you can show your face on the live broadcast. Luffy said to Smoker with a regretful face. Smoker's head was full of black lines, the devil would be willing to live broadcast the embarrassment there. If Sengoku hadn't cut off the live broadcast, it is estimated that hundreds of unlucky children would be live broadcast all over the world as sandbags. The key is that in the eyes of others, it is not inferior to others, but to succumb to Garp's despotic power. Luffy immediately shook his head at Smoker. That's a pity. It's a pity. Smoker gave them a blank look. I'm here to send you the charts. Without the assistance of the warships from the headquarters, the Grand Line from Rogtown must go through the reverse mountain. I hope you can reach the Grand Line alive. Nani, is it dangerous to go to the Grand Line? Usopp trembled when he heard Smoker's words. Smoker didn't speak, waved to several people and left here directly. Seeing this, Tashigi hurriedly bowed and Luffy chased after Smoker. Luffy yelled at Smoker. Don't forget our bet. Smoker, who was leaving gracefully, staggered suddenly, and at this moment he also realized that Luffy had bet with him before that he would be his little brother anyway. Smoker suddenly turned around angrily and shouted, "Get out!" Luffy laughed. A group of people turned around and boarded the melee. Yongfan set sail and sailed directly to the Grand Line. Chapter 79 Killing Escalation. Star Point Surge. Advertisement. As the Mary sails, the weather on the sea began to turn bad. Due to the obstruction of the Red Line, there are extremely thick rain clouds near the upside-down mountain. The storm is the first threshold to enter the Grand Line. Look there, Nami shouted excitedly pointing to a light in the dark clouds. Amazing, is it the lighthouse on the island? Usopp looked at the bunch of searchlights in the pitch-black sky and exclaimed in shock. The guiding light, the entrance of the Grand Line is at the end of that light. Nami explained to everyone looking at the chart that Smoker sent. Grand Line. Luffy sat on the sheep's head, and infinite thoughts arose in his heart. It has been a month since I came to this world. Since I met Nami, I have experienced a lot and changed a lot, but I finally came to the place where this legend started. Zoro and Sanji look longingly at the direction of the lighthouse, which is where their dreams are. Nami hugged Luffy excitedly and danced happily in the storm. Very well, in order to celebrate that the ship is about to sail into the great ocean, let's have a launching ceremony, shall we? Sanji raised his hand and suggested to everyone. Hey, what a great idea. Usopp looked excited, and the adventure he had taken along the way was beyond his bragging in his entire life. Then Sanji put his feet on a wine barrel. I'm here to find all blue. Not to be outdone, Zoro's face was filled with excitement. I want to become the world's #1 swordsman. Nami followed suit. I'm here to map the world. I'm here to be a brave sea warrior. Usopp hesitated to share his dream and promised to Kaya. Immediately, everyone turned to look at their captain Luffy, who seemed to have never heard him mention their dreams since joining him. Luffy laughed. I just want to take a trip as soon as I say it, and become the freest person in the world. It's better to have another 100 or 80 girls, 1,000 or 800 younger brothers, 800 billion banknotes and countless. Everyone. All in all, an adventure worth living in. Luffy laughed as he watched the crowd gradually collapse. The sound of barrels breaking echoed through the storm. Go. Grand Line. Advertisement. Next day. Agiu. Nami and Usopp nestled in the cabin with runny noses. Speaking of which, you two are really weak in physique. Zoro looked at the two who had a cold and taunted them. Shut up. Chloral ahead. It's because of you that the lovely Miss Nami has a cold. No one in the world would get wet on deck in a storm. Sanji brought 2 bowls of hot porridge to Nami. Hi, Nami-san, this is a health porridge specially prepared for you. Do you want me to feed it to you? Nami. No. Hey, Sanji, you can feed me if you have time. Usopp, who obviously had a colder than Nami's, approached Sanji with a shy face. Sanji directly pressed Usopp back with a tray. Go away. Drink it yourself, and be grateful if I can cook it for you. It's all thanks to Ms. Nami. Why don't you 3 catch a cold? Usopp asked unwillingly. Zoro, who was playing iron beside him, looked up in surprise. I haven't had a cold since I can remember. Sanji also nodded when he heard the words. That's true. How can I say that I am also a genetically modified person, so how could I have such a minor disease as a cold? What about Luffy? Usopp asked looking out at the storm that hadn't stopped. He said he was hungry and went to the sea to find something to eat. Sanji lit a cigarette and said. Hey, B***********D, there is still a patient, can you stop smoking? Usopp said with a look of disgust. Responding to him was the tray of porridge in Sanji's hand. Wait a moment. At this moment, Nami suddenly said, I remember when I was at naval headquarters, someone said that the weak point of demon fruit power is not sea water. Anyone who eats devil fruit will turn into landlubbers. Everyone was taken aback when they heard the words. Zoro and Sanji hesitated. Can't you? I remember that guy was having fun swimming in the sea at Arlong Land. Isn't that the ability to fuse with that shark muscle? Where's the shark muscle? Everyone turned their heads and saw the big knife Samahata thrown in the corner of the cabin. Sanji asked hesitantly, how long has he been down? Zoro. Half an hour. Advertisement. Quote. Nima. Go find him. Zoro hurried out of the cabin. Suddenly there was a loud bang. The soaring water column exploded from the side of the melee. What happened? Ask for flowers. Everyone turned their heads and looked aside, only to see Luffy laughing loudly standing on top of a sea king's corpse that was bigger than the melee. In his hand he still held the big sword stuck in his waist. Luffy looked excitedly at the sword in his hand, and the number of star points on the sword had changed to 5,700. Luffy spat at the sea kings below. You have no hands and you are talking to me about your sister. Nami yelled at Luffy with a flushed face. You be ************** D scared me to death. Immediately, his eyes were red and he was about to cry. I thought you were drowned. Seeing this, Luffy hurried back to the melee and comforted him. Don't cry, I'm okay. I mainly want to get you some seafood to nourish your body. Look, how is this guy? He looks like a donkey. Let Sanji cook donkey meat for you, it's sure to be delicious. 0. Seeing Luffy's nervous look, Nami burst into tears and smiled, and rolled Luffy's eyes wide. I'll be scary in the future, you'll be the one to watch. Sanji on the side looked at Nami's worried look, his face turned green with envy, he got up and took off his clothes and was about to jump into the sea and go fishing. Pulled back by Luffy. Hurry up and cook. You won't cry even if you drown Nami. Sanji. Joe. Only Zoro looked at Luffy and frowned. Are you getting stronger again? Luffy smiled, looked at the big sword in his hand. He didn't expect that there would be a surprise this time. Hunting sea beasts and sea kings on the bottom of the sea can actually increase the star points on the knife. You must know that Knockdown King is a world ruled by numbers, and the higher the points, the stronger the strength. The way Liren Bach increases numbers is not only picking up girls, but also killing monsters. I thought that only killing humans can increase the number of stars, but I didn't expect killing sea beasts and sea kings to count. And the points obtained are much more than that of human sea monsters. Just half an hour of killing caused the star points in Luffy's hand to skyrocket to 5,700. Luffy looked at his attribute panel, and his stomach was full of regrets. If he had known earlier that killing sea kings would increase his points, he wouldn't need such a shameless way to win in naval headquarters. Wouldn't it be possible to easily sweep away those scumbags with the template of the Strike King and his own strength? Thinking of this, Luffy sighed. Jay lousy, it seems that we should study our own system well. At this time, the long-lost system sounded again. Ding dong, the Strike King template has expired, do you want to re-enable random? Again. Chapter 82nd Template Loading. Collection System. Advertisement. Damn, is this due? Luffy scratched his head in pain, and finally found a way to refresh the recovery speed, but it turned out that the time limit was up. Hey, system, what is the probability that the same template will arrive at the same time? Can't you just max out one template and replace it with another? Luffy asked the system in his head. Open black lens bracket. Hey, here, close black lens bracket. Because the random objects of this system are all the characters in the second dimension of the heavens, from the perspective of probability, the probability of following the same character is approximately equal to 0. Luffy. That's cheating. That is to say, if I randomly find a character, if the line of sight cannot reach 100% restoration, then basically I have no chance with that character. Luffy growled loudly in his heart. Host personality explosion may be able to randomly randomize the same character continuously. The corner of Luffy's mouth twitched. 337 can be randomized to the same anime character continuously because of such a good character. Isn't this pure nonsense? Is there any other way to load the template again? Luffy asked the system unwillingly. Ding dong, there is something. Luffy. Oil, vomits blood. It's you who didn't say it earlier. This system does not have any artificial intelligence, and all functions need to be checked by the host itself. Close black lens bracket. Luffy rubbed his brows vigorously. Competing with this system that looks like artificial intelligence but is actually artificially retarded is simply 2B behavior. Luffy suppressed the depression in his heart and quickly asked the system, what else can I do? The system has opened the collection section when the host restores any template to 100%. Host can be actively loaded by using collection points. Open black lens bracket. Each time you load a template, you can get a little collection point. Close black lens bracket. Not in the state of loading templates, you can reload the templates that have already been lit in the collection section by consuming collection points. Open black lens bracket. Currently available collection points for host. 4 close black lens bracket. Luffy hurriedly opened the system panel in his mind, but he didn't find the collection section mentioned by the system. Why is there no collection section in the interface? Need to open with consciousness. Luffy. Oi, Sean. It's okay for the devil to call the collection section in his head, B******************. D. Advertisement. Open the favorites section. Suddenly, an interface like collecting cards came into Luffy's mind. Currently there are 4 cards lit up in the interface. DC Poseidon, Shi Leng Li Jing, Hoshigaki Kisame, Blitz Wong Liren Bach. Among them, the reduction degree of Poseidon is 10%. Shi Leng Li Jing and Dried Persimmon Kisame have been reset to 0 due to the 100% restoration. And just unloaded the Strike King, it was 50% reduction. After several times of template loading, Luffy also found some patterns of template restoration. Among them, the matching degree of body, strength and template accounts for about 50% of the restoration degree. And character, experience, and restoration of similar events accounted for the other 50%. For example, Liren Bach of the Blitz King template needs to kill a sufficient number of enemies so that the star points on the Odachi reach the 300,000 star points owned by the protagonist, in order to promote the restoration of the template. Luffy clicked on the template of King of Blitz. A brief introduction in the style of an Ultraman card appeared in front of Luffy. The introduction on the card included character level, equipment, attributes, as well as skills and nirvana. At the bottom is the reduction degree and the collection points required for active loading. Blitz's knockdown of Wong Liren Bach. Class B collection card. Equipment. Odachi, 5700 star points. Innate abilities. Blitz, the ability to move faster than the speed of sound, enhanced thinking, able to adapt to and promptly handle actions in the state of notification, toughness, the body can easily withstand the impact of high-speed movement. Nirvana. Critical strike, sword strike at the speed of sound at super altitude. Character reduction degree, 50%. Collection points required for loading, 2 points, 1 day. Open black lens bracket collection cards can be rented for a minimum of 7 days. Close black lens bracket. Damn, AB level card is still so expensive. Luffy couldn't help cursing when he saw the loading fee. 2 o'clock a day, 7 days minimum rental. It means that I need to spend 14 collection points to load the template of King of Blitz again. I currently only have 4 collection points, which means that I need to load 10 templates immediately before I can actively load the template of the Flash Master. And Luffy opened the rest of the templates again, and found that the card with the highest level of collection was Shi Leng Li Jing, an SSR level collection card. And its active loading cost has reached a terrifying 14 points per day. Advertisement. Followed by DC Poseidon, A and collection cards. The weakest one is that dried persimmon Kisame is only C level, and the cost is relatively the cheapest, but it also needs 1 point per day. Think about it, too. After all, it belongs to a person with skills at the level of causality, plus the number 1 swordsman of the Shang dynasty in the mythical period, and the difficulty of restoring it is relatively easy. It is enough to explain the rarity of Li Jing's card. But what Luffy didn't expect was that Hoshigaki Kisame, the majestic S-rank rebellious ninja, was only C rank. He also thought that this guy had AB level rarity. However, it is considered normal. Compared with the strange power and ninjutsu possessed by Kisame, it is not a big threat to the strong in the world of pirates. The only thing that stands out is that the deceptive ninjutsu such as 3-body technique is very effective. Even its talent for strange power is at best comparable to that of a race like Murlocs. In Hokage World Super Cage level, the ninjas and pirates are indeed a little weak when compared with the strong ones. At this time, Luffy suddenly noticed that there was a gray learning button behind each skill in the card skill list. System. Can I learn collectible card skills directly? Luffy asked the system in surprise. Ding dong, yes. Luffy was overjoyed immediately. If he could learn it directly, why bother to restore the characters and then randomize the skills? It would be nice to get it right in one step. Why are these studies gray? 3.5 Luffy tried to click but found that there was no response. Ding dong, you need to consume achievement points to learn skills, and the achievement section has not yet been opened. Luffy frowned after hearing this. How to open the achievement section? Please host to explore by himself. Close black lens bracket. Boil. Luffy cursed and closed the collection interface. Feelings have no other choice but to continue the random template with their current economic strength. Only faster random, and enough collection points can be actively loaded again. The cheapest ghost shark needs to be used 3 more times. System, open a new random template. Luffy said silently in his heart helplessly. Ding dong, the template is being generated now. Open black lens bracket. Congratulations on getting the new template. Lelouch v Britannia, close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket. For more information, please check it yourself from the properties panel, close black lens bracket. Chapter 81 A Man's Dream, the terrifying Lelouch template. Advertisement. Lelouch v Britannia. Luffy stared in astonishment at a tall and cold male god with black hair, dark purple pupils, and wearing an academy uniform standing in the void. The protagonist in Lelouch of the Rebellion, a world where technology and superpowers coexist. In order to overthrow the brutal rule of his own father, he colluded with the rebel army to kill his elder brother, exterminate his parents, and finally killed himself as a benevolent story. Lelouch's fighting power can be said to be almost equal to nothing. But he has a very bug skill. Geass, also known as Contract, and Power of the King. Geass owners can use superpowers that act on the spiritual level. Different characters have different Geass abilities. And Lelouch's Geass is the power of absolute obedience that can make the opponent absolutely obey his orders. Abbreviation. Absolute order. Luffy excitedly opened the system panel, and sure enough, the relevant introduction of Lelouch was displayed clearly. Open black lens bracket host. Wong Luffy Monkey D. Luffy close black lens bracket. 14 current loading template. Lelouch v Britannia, 0. Equipment. 0 mask, holographic mask, which covers the whole head without affecting the line of sight. Mirage, special equipment has been stored in the system space. Innate ability. IQ, this template has good analysis and calculation ability. Geass absolute command, enough to make the recruiter absolutely obey his own order. Must look directly into the opponent's eyes, and cannot see through indirect vision, such as TV screens, monitors. Takes effect. The effective distance is about 270 meters. It can only be used once for the same person. It can be eliminated or resisted, and can be used again after elimination. Open black lens bracket. Contractor. CC close black lens bracket. Character reset countdown. 6 days, 23 hours and 59 minutes. Character reduction degree, 50%. Luffy looked at the attribute panel a little confused. This time the basic information and the previous characters had an extra column of introduction. Contractor Circa, an immortal witch. The holder of the super power code has the ability to give others Geass. It can be regarded as the heroine in the rebellious Lelouch. Advertisement. But why should the system mark it out separately? Is this the hidden condition for restoring this template? Luffy looked at the properties panel puzzled. I had no choice but to suppress my doubts first and look at other introductions. Lelouch has only 2 talents. IQ and Geass. Needless to say about IQ, the old road repairer relies on super high IQ to plan wars and plans throughout his world. In terms of war layout and calculation, it can be regarded as the existence of the IQ ceiling level in all the two dimensions. The most glorious moment is relying on calculations to successfully crack and launch the goddess of love within 19 seconds based on various environmental disturbances. Its calculation ability is simply terrifying. And the most direct achievement of this day is that the future encountered through observation hockey is even longer. It is different from the cheating-like thinking enhancement of the King of Blitz. The future met by Luffy observation hockey at this time is more accurate and longer. But the speed of capturing surrounding information has been reduced. After all, as an ordinary person, Lelouch does not have the ability to adapt to supersonic speed. The introduction of Geass made Luffy a little disappointed. Obviously, this superpower in the world of pirates is not as terrifying as it is in the world of Lelouch. In the world where Lelouch lives, almost no one can resist the ability of Geass except the holder of the code superpower. Only Kuchiki Vermilion Bird can barely stay awake with superhuman consciousness, but it is also difficult to resist. But in the world of pirates, there is the existence of Conqueror's Haki, and the big pirates in New World basically have extremely strong willpower. If Luffy's guess is right, Lelouch's Geass is ineffective against those who can fend off Conqueror's Haki without fainting. But at this time in the first half of the Grand Line, this ability can basically be called heaven-defying. Luffy rubbed his chin. He was still thinking about how to subdue Lao Shaw's Barlock Studio, but now it's done and saves trouble. Then Luffy looked at the item of equipment in the column above. In the next second, a pitch-black fully enclosed helmet appeared in his hand. The middle of the helmet was composed of dark purple unknown crystals. Luffy put the helmet on his head, and the lavender crystal suddenly turned transparent, and there were words similar to the operating system on the corner. This is a smart computer controlled by brainwaves. Advertisement. Good guy. Luffy opened a corner of the mask, and the seagull-like red light composed of Geass flickered in his eyes, and his whole person shone with a certain sense of technology. If it weren't for the shorts and vest that he was wearing at this time, Luffy would be so handsome at this time. Luffy took off the mask happily. How cool would it be to restore the template to 100% and extract the mask to pretend? Finally, he put his eyes on the last equipment Mirage. Mirage. What is this thing? Do you still need system space for system storage? Luffy looked at the name wonderingly, and then he clicked on the introduction of the equipment. My grass. Luffy was stunned when he saw the detailed information. This thing is okay. I saw a long message suddenly appearing in my mind. Open black lens bracket Mirage close black lens bracket. Type number. Type -0/0. Overall height. 4.67 meters. 933 combat weight. 8060 kg close black lens bracket. The new special machine, 8th generation, developed by Lokshata for Zero is equipped with the Druid system transferred from Gaowen and the Absolute Guardian domain system. Equipped with a flying device, the operation method includes keyboard and joystick. The main weapons are the diffusible structural phase transfer cannon and the spherical hadron cannon inside the hands. It has the highest defense in the world, and can fight against a large number of enemy aircraft at the same time. The special prism energy weapon can attack the enemy in a wide range from a long distance. 1. Luffy looked at the long introduction and pinched his own face in disbelief. It doesn't hurt. Is it really a dream? No, I'm a rubber man. This thing, it turned out to be a machine. Question mark exclamation mark exclamation mark quote. Luffy is already full of ecstasy at this time. This is not General Frankie's kind of funny machine. This is a real technological combat mech. Luffy excitedly ran to the cabin and shouted, "Come out. Captain, let me show you a treasure." Excited, Luffy kicked open the cabin door. However, it was not Zoro and others who caught the eye first. Instead, a tall and cold beauty with long green hair in tights was eating pizza with her mouth open. Luffy staggered and fell to the ground. FKCC. Chapter 82 The Strongest Defensive Mech Mirage. Novel image. Advertisement. Circus C. Sauce, this is a freshly baked pizza, you can eat as much as you want. Sanji is holding a large plate of freshly baked Sea King's pizza and crowds around Circus C, like an info. Where did you come from? Luffy said madly in pain. Did you pull up your trousers so quickly? Circus C. Looked at Luffy playfully. Nami on the side grabbed Luffy's collar furiously. What did you do to him? Sanji glared at Luffy even more viciously. Now as a society ruled by law, first and marine, you have to be responsible for what you say. Luffy hastened to defend himself vigorously. Who knew that CC stretched out his hand and pulled Luffy to kiss her on the mouth? Nami and the others' eyeballs protruded instantly. Well, Luffy licked his lips in confusion. What are you doing? Suddenly a memory came to my mind through Geass. It turns out that Lelouch in CC's memory has been replaced by Luffy. At this time, it is Luffy who CC likes. Circus C. Said confidently. I forgot when I signed the contract, but you are responsible for killing me. Nani. Everyone frantically looked at Luffy. Such a cute girl, you actually want to kill her. I misread you Luffy. Bah, you scumbag. Nami, Sanji and others condemned Luffy one after another. Luffy has black lines all over his head. I had no choice but to tell everyone about Geass's curse of immortality. Zoro's eyes widened. Nani. You lived for thousands of years. So you're older than my grandpa's grandpa. Usopp scratched the hair of his fingers in a daze. CC. Zhang is so pitiful, she wants to die with all her heart. Don't worry, I will definitely give you enough love and encouragement, so that you can find the hope of life again. Sanji yelled while holding up a pizza. But CC is eating his own pizza like a bystander. Luffy is a little excited, this system template is still fettered. Can someone even bring it over? At this moment, Luffy suddenly remembered the purpose of coming into the house. Quick, come out with me and show you a baby. Everyone looked at Luffy strangely, wondering what the baby he was talking about was. Advertisement. When everyone came outside the cabin, as they approached the upside-down mountain, the current became extremely unstable, and it was difficult for Usopp to turn the rudder with all his strength. Huge Uzumaki appeared one after another in the sea ahead. Zoro pointed to the huge Uzumaki one by one with a dark face and asked Luffy, "Is this the baby you said?" Luffy smiled and waved his hand directly. "Come out. First-generation machine." A huge mech covered in pitch black and inlaid with yellow decorations appeared beside Melee. Nani, Zoro, Sanji, and Usopp stared at the huge mecha that suddenly appeared. Even in the world of pirates, this is still the dream of all boys, just like ninjas. Only Nami on the side looked at the excited boy with a bored face. "What's so exciting about this?" Luffy said lightly to Nami. "Sell this thing to the world to conquer 10 billion Baileys, and they probably won't even bat an eye." "What?" Nami screamed, and his eyes instantly turned into Bailey. "Put it away. What if it gets wet?" The corners of Luffy's mouth couldn't help but twitch. This is the 8th generation mecha with the strongest defense specially developed by Lelouch for Zero in the world. Let alone the rain, even Hawkeye might not be able to break it with a single blow. His energy shield. "Hurry up." Usopp danced excitedly, sat up and showed us. Luffy smiled triumphantly and put on the mask of Zero, only then did he know that this thing is still the key to open the mecha. Amazing. So handsome. Usopp looked at Luffy with stars in his eyes. Zoro and Sanji on the side both showed envy. "Open." Luffy waved his hand handsomely, and the cockpit on the chest of the mecha opened directly. "Close." Luffy waved again, and the cockpit closed again. Lambda. Don't drive it on a rainy day, it's so G wet. The moment the cockpit was just opened, heavy rain poured directly towards the driver's seat. Although this thing is waterproof, Luffy has no interest in going in to try it at all. Ahem. This thing can also be controlled remotely. Luffy coughed twice in embarrassment, and then manipulated the mirage to sneak under the melee. "What are you doing?" Everyone looked at the mecha that disappeared into the water, a little confused. In the next second, the hull shook for a while. While everyone exclaimed, the melee rose slowly from the water and flew up. The mecha actually lifted the melee directly. Advertisement. Au. The gold stars in Usopp's eyes shone even brighter now. Even Zoro and Sanji were overwhelmed by the mech's charm. Tisk tisk, it's a pity that this is a long-range defense fortress mecha. If it's a Kuchiki vermilion bird or a red lotus mecha, you might be able to use the three swords style. Luffy smiled and said to Zoro. Zoro's eyes lit up immediately after hearing this. Ahem. When you have a chance, let me try it. Luffy gave it a thumbs up. And with the force of the mirage, the melee was farther and farther away from the sea. The huge vortex and the water column rising into the sky are no longer obstacles. Everyone sailed against the storm, and the wonder of climbing upside down to the mountains and seas was fully displayed in front of everyone. It's amazing. What a spectacular scene. Is this the intersection of the Grand Line? Everyone looked at the climbing canal and laughed excitedly. Sanji and Usopp danced happily, rushed towards the Grand Line. The crowd cheered loudly and excitedly. As the melee rose higher and higher, the sun also appeared in the sky. It's spectacular. It feels like flying. We're just flying, ha ha ha. Mahawk is in this sea area. All blue is here, good Wang Zhao. Draw a perfect sea chart. Mirage is running out of power. Quote. Proof of a brave sea warrior. Everyone was stunned for a moment. No, is there some strange sound in the middle? Everyone turned their heads in unison, and saw that Circus C walked out of the cabin with a pizza in his mouth at some unknown time. What do you see me doing? Luffy asked CC uncertainly, what did you just say? Oh, Mirage was originally powered by solar energy. When I saw him go into the water just now, the power was gone. In addition to the heavy rain, probably, the time is about the same. What about time to fall? Circus C. As soon as the voice fell, the Mary, which was flying in the air, suddenly fell towards the canal below. Your uncle. The screams of the crowd sounded from the top of the red line. Photos of PS. Circus C. Are up. Chapter 83 Crocus. One Piece Ship Doctor. Novel image. Advertisement. Rubber. Huge balloon. With a roar from Luffy. A huge splash of water splashes from the starting point of the Grand Line announcing the arrival of Luffy and others. Everyone was lying on the bow of the melee in fear, their legs were a little weak. Stupid, can you check the battery before driving? Nami yelled frantically at Luffy, who shrunk underwater. At this time, Luffy is still a miniature version of Luffy, which is the sequelae after using the third gear. This is a symptom of excessive energy consumption in the body. Before the exposure of the Luffy fruit, everyone thought it was a sequela after the rubber was blown and shrunk. As a result, it was only after the Nika fruit was exposed that it turned out to be their own ability. Ghost knows that such an advanced thing uses electricity. A smaller version of Luffy's voice came from the side. But what's your situation? Nami picked up the miniature version of Luffy and asked, it's so cute. Then he directly hugged little Luffy in his arms. Hey, wait a minute before flirting. At this time, Usopp's terrified voice came from the side. Ah, everyone turned their heads to look at Usopp, only to find that he was pointing at the huge black figure beside the melee in horror. What's the matter? What are you pointing at the rock? Zoro looked at Usopp strangely. This is not a reef. Usopp sat down on the deck. The sound of a huge horn suddenly came from the reef. 510 inches. This is a whale. L*00. He called. What? Want to fight him? Idiot. Is this an opponent you can beat? Wait, I don't seem to have noticed us. Really, our boat is too small for him to see. Run. Rubber, pistol. Ah, Luffy came with a pistol. Ah, yes, a good punch. Advertisement. In the eye of a whale. As expected of Marine Commodore, look at the whale's eyes moving. Everyone, are you an idiot? Everyone who reacted roared at Luffy, who withdrew his fist. Only Luffy gave a weird laugh and made a comparison to everyone. Zoro looked into the whale's eyes and roared, hurry up. Run away now. Several people rushed to the cabin and paddled frantically in an attempt to escape from the whale. However, an angry howl directly deafened everyone's ears. The huge mouth opened and formed a terrifying vortex directly above the sea surface. The melee was directly swallowed by the whale without any resistance. Hole, Luffy, you idiot. Nami was swallowed with tears in her eyes. Feeling the huge suction of Laboon's whale, Luffy once again felt that it was a miracle that the Straw Hats could reach the New World alive in the original book. If it weren't for Laboon's body being transformed into a resort space by Crocus, Straw Hat crew would have become whale feces the moment it first entered the Grand Line. I do not know how long it has been. Everyone just felt their eyes light up. Ahahaha, it's so interesting. Luffy laughed. Nami, who was still in shock, punched Luffy on the head and roared wildly, funny. We're feeding the whales. Immediately, everyone looked around, only to find that this place was no different from the outside world. There is even a small island in front of you. Everyone was stunned in place, at a loss. Nami lowered his fist and looked around blankly and asked Zoro, what do you think? What do you think? Zoro also frowned deeply. Even if you ask me that, I don't have anything to think about. I thought we must have been swallowed by a whale. Sanji lit a cigarette to try to calm himself down. Usopp's mouth grew wide. Is this a dream? Ah, it's probably a dream. Maybe this is heaven, and we're all dead. Zoro nodded aside. Ah, I don't want to die. I haven't become a brave sea warrior yet. Usopp scrambled up and down the cabin in fright. How can it be so easy to want to die? The voice of Circus C came from the side, and she was casually looking around while holding a glass of juice as if nothing had happened. Oh, yes, we still have an undead existence here. Advertisement. Why do I feel like this is all Luffy bragging? How is it possible that someone can't die? Luffy looked at his funny crew with black lines all over his head. A squeak. Luffy pointed to the slowly opened door on the island and said to everyone, stop arguing, your god has come out. Everyone looked at Shoutao in unison. I saw an old man wearing beach shorts and a shirt appearing at the door. It was Crocus, the ship doctor of One Piece Roger. The fierce eyes, overwhelming momentum, and fierce eyes made everyone sweat on their foreheads. Everyone stared nervously at Crocus, sweating all over. After all, no one would be nervous when meeting a weirdo with flowers on his head after being eaten by a whale. Crocus stared at Luffy and the others firmly, and walked towards the small island beside him step by step. Under the eyes of everyone, he slowly walked to a deck chair and lay down, with a newspaper spread out in his hand. Everyone. Sanji looked at Crocus frantically and yelled loudly, what are you talking about, hey? Crocus slowly turned his head to Sanji. An oppressive atmosphere spread on the melee. If you want to fight, come here, D. Usopp hid in the cabin while shouting, we have cannons here. When Crocus heard the words, his eyes widened suddenly, bloodshot eyes seeped in his eyes, he stared at Usopp firmly, and his deep voice reached everyone's ears. I advise you to stop, you will die. Nami and Usopp turned blue from Crocus' awe. Zoro frowned and tightly held the long knife in his hand. Sanji sneered while holding back the fear in his heart with cold sweat all over his face. Who do you think will die? D. Crocus replied confidently. Me. Sanji sad face. Oi ko. I'll plug in. You're talking about you. D. Zoro on the side also saw that the old man on the opposite side looked like an ordinary person. He hurriedly stopped Sanji, who was about to run away, and greeted Crocus politely. Ah, old man, can you tell us who you are? Where is this place? There was another burst of suppressed silence, and Crocus said slowly, when you ask someone else a question, it's more polite to state your name first, isn't it? Zoro nodded embarrassingly. Ah, indeed, sorry, my name is Luo. However, just as Zoro spoke, Crocus's slow voice came over. My name is Crocus, I'm a lighthouse keeper in Gemini, age 71, Gemini, blood type AB. Zoro sad face NYLH. Can I kill him? Sanji hurriedly held down Zoro, who was in a frenzy, and comforted him. Calm down. Calm down. This is just an ordinary old man. We are Marine. Luffy on the side couldn't help laughing anymore. Chapter 84 The Power of Geass. Advertisement. Crocus said the most embarrassing words with the most arrogant expression. Where is this, you ask me? You broke into my private resort center, and you still speak so arrogantly. Do you think this is the belly of a mouse? Nami burst into tears when she heard this. Is this really the stomach of a whale? Usopp also shouted. I don't want to be digested by a whale. Who knew? Crocus glared again. Zoro and Sanji. You're enough, hey. Don't you guys find this recurring image funny? Everyone. Za. You're kidding. B********************. D. If you exit, it's over there. Crocus looked at the frantic crowd and pointed to a sky direction, and a gate appeared in the crowd's field of vision. Everyone. You can go out. But at this moment, everyone felt a violent shaking. There was a huge wave in the gastric juice below. The melee and the island shook violently. Crocus frowned. It started again. Damn, what happened? Hey, Usopp gripped the railing tightly, horrified. At this moment, Luffy gestured to CC, and CC hugged Luffy's body as if in agreement. On the side, Sanji smoked with jealousy. B************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************ reaching out and grabbing a passage directly above the stomach wall. Crocus looked at Luffy strangely, not knowing what he was going to do. Can you feel it? Luffy turned to Circus C and asked. Circus C nodded and placed his hand on the stomach wall of the whale Laboon. A seagull-shaped crest representing a psychic power code lights up on its forehead. An upgraded version of Code Geass possess the ability of immortality, and can carry out spiritual transmission, communicate with the other party's inner world, and can also give other people Geass. Advertisement. Circus C. As a code holder, the moment he came into contact with Laboon, he saw clearly the encounter experience of Laboon with Brook and others when he was a child. It's really touching, CC said with a deadpan face. Luffy gave Circus C a speechless look. Your expression is so touching. Thousands of years of life have already made Circus C's heart calm. If the system hadn't replaced Lelouch's experience with Luffy, CC's estimated Luffy. Transfer my consciousness to Laboon. Luffy grabbed Circus C's hand and said. All of a sudden Brook is still alive and has been trying to find his way home past to the whale Laboon by Circus C, and promised him to bring Brook to visit him sometime. The originally swaying waves instantly became calm. Crocus looked at Laboon, who suddenly fell silent with a look of shock. He didn't know what Luffy and the two had done. How did you do it? Crocus couldn't help but ask Luffy. Keep in mind that Laboon himself had to slap him with big cans of tranquilizers every time he hit the red line. Secret. Luffy laughed. Hold the Circus C. Back to the melee. But at this moment, there was an explosion. Very good, I finally managed to sneak in here. A sissy voice came. Everyone looked up and saw Vivi and MR9 walking out of the door carrying cannons. We must complete the task this time. Miss Wednesday. Hey, that's right MR9, after all, this whale is an indispensable food for our town. Vivi also said strangely at the side. Who are these two? Zoro on the boat looked dazed, and had been in a daze ever since he was swallowed by the whale in the Luffy tunnel. That's of course what I'm here for in Laboon. Luffy smiled and waved to Vivi on the high platform. Nami on the side roared frantically. Did you throw us into the belly of a whale just to pick up girls? Haha, this is not an ordinary girl. She is a majestic alabaster royal princess. If you get it, you will have the wealth of the entire kingdom. Nami's face turned aside for a moment, and she gave Luffy a thumbs up. Come on. Hurry up and get married on the spot. Advertisement. Zoro. Sanji. Get too fast. And Vivi in the stand suddenly looked at Luffy in horror. My own identity was exposed. Seeking flowers oh. Mr. 9 on the side looked at Luffy wonderingly. What alabasta? Did he say you were a princess? Vivi shook her head nervously. He must have admitted the wrong person. Crocus also frowned at Luffy. Are you with these two villains? Luffy smiled slightly. To be precise, I want to be with them. Hey, Luffy, don't always invite some strange guys on board. B********************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************* blonde wretched man next to her. Sanji poked Luffy on the head angrily. Crocus also stood up and said to Luffy, as long as I have breath, I won't let you hurt Laboon a little bit. 0. At this time, Vivi already wanted to escape here. She said to MR9, how about we come back another day? I feel that this group of people is a bit difficult to deal with. MR9. Even if you say so, we can't go back. It's our mission to kill this whale. Miss Wednesday. Mr. 9 slowly picked up the cannon on his body, turned his head and shouted at Crocus, don't you want to organize our whaling today? Whaling. So these guys want to hunt this whale. Nami and the others suddenly realized. Hey, Luffy, do you want to invite him to be our crew? Nami poked Luffy on the head angrily. How is it possible? He is just a subordinate. Luffy chuckled, and the next moment, under Mr. 9's terrified gaze, he bent his arms and stretched out, grabbed the barrier beside him and came to his side. You, what are you going to do? Mr. 9 looked at Luffy with sweat profusely. This guy turned out to be demon fruit power. You bounty hunters are not doing well. Luffy shook his head. I will rectify it for you after you hang out with me. Mr. 9 was shocked when he heard the words, why are you? But he hadn't finished speaking. I saw Luffy stretching out his hand to cover one eye, the other eye flashed a seagull-like red light and flew straight into Mr. 9's eyes. Order again in the name of Monkey D. Luffy, surrender to me 0. Chapter 85 Life returns YYDs. Advertisement. Yes, Your Highness. Mr. 9 knelt down on one knee, looking at Luffy frantically. Even if Luffy asked him to die at this moment, he would not hesitate at all. Lelouch's Gios. Absolute domination. If there is no Jingyan that specifically removes Gios, this command will accompany Mr. 9 for the rest of his life. Call it the distinguished heavenly gods without the side effects. Also known as the ceiling of hypnosis. Because the second male character, Kuchiki Vermilion Bird, was given the Gios order to survive by the protagonist. As a result, every critical moment, Kuchiki Vermilion Bird will use the maximum potential of his body that he doesn't even know about to complete the Gios order. Although MR9 still has his own consciousness at this time, Luffy has become his god at this moment. As long as it is Luffy's order, he will unconditionally execute it. 700. Vivi on the side looked terrified, covered his body tremblingly and said, "Don't come here." Luffy looked at Vivi with black lines all over his head. "Do I look like a bad guy?" Vivi nodded frantically on the opposite side. Luffy gave Vivi a blank look, and jumped back to the melee with her in her arms while she screamed. "Is this the princess of the kingdom you were talking about?" Nami looked at Vivi suspiciously. "It doesn't look like it." At this time, Vivi is wearing a long ponytail, and Vivi's eyes are pulled back by the tight hair rope, looking like Musashi in the Rockets, with a mean face. Luffy took off the headband from Vivi's hair, and her originally mean face instantly became delicate and lovely. Vivi screamed. "I'm really not a princess." Luffy's expression suddenly became fierce. "Really? So you are an illegal whaler? Then let me arrest you and put you in Impel Down." When Vivi heard this, tears filled her eyes, and she stared pitifully at Luffy. "Damn it, don't scare such a lovely young lady." Sanji kicked up directly, and was thrown away by Luffy. "In short, your identity has been exposed. If you don't want to die, just follow me honestly and work with Barlock. Bah, save Alabasta." Vivi. After Vivi's resistance failed, he was poured into the cabin. Mr. 9 was arranged by Luffy to report back to Whiskey Hill in advance, saying that Vivi had been caught by him. Advertisement. When Nami heard about Laboon's touching story, she was directly moved. "It's been 50 years. Those pirates must have died on the Grand Line, right?" Usopp muttered with a sigh. "Yes, not right." Luffy laughed twice. "There is still a skeleton alive." "Luffy, don't be so cruel, look how pitiful Laboon is." Nami complained to Luffy angrily. "Well, what I said is a fact." Luffy spread her hands. Even if she told her about Brook, they probably wouldn't believe it. "How on earth did you manage to silence Laboon?" Crocus looked curiously at the excited, water-squirting Laboon. "I just told it Brook wasn't dead." Luffy chuckled. Crocus said in surprise. "The pirate group that Brook belongs to has not been heard from for 50 years, how do you know he is not dead?" "I can read minds. It's like when you were the doctor of the One Piece ship." Luffy looked at Crocus with a smile and said, "What? He was the ship doctor of One Piece?" Everyone stared in surprise at the ugly old man in front of them. Crocus suddenly stared at Luffy with his eyes wide open. "How do you know? Could it really be mind reading?" Luffy laughed and waved to Crocus. "Don't worry, I won't say anything, and Laboon won't run into Red Line again." Then Luffy directly greeted everyone to board the melee again. "Let's go. The goal has been achieved, let's go." Crocus looked at the departing Luffy and others full of admiration. The new marine supernova. Commodore Monkey D. Luffy. What a mysterious man. The newspaper slipping from his hand is a picture of Luffy versus Naval Headquarters. Luffy looked at the gradually disappearing Laboon and touched his chin in satisfaction. In this way, Laboon can be prevented from hitting the wall without destroying the Mary. At this time, Nami suddenly screamed in the cabin, and Nami walked out of the cabin anxiously. "Ah. Luffy, I feel that the current on this sea is a bit strange. I wanted to make a good sailing plan, but the compass scraping around inexplicably." Everyone gathered around when they heard Nami's cry. Advertisement. Sanji came forward with a large plate of delicacies made of elephant scorpionfish. Luffy touched a piece casually and threw it in his mouth, explaining. "Ah, it's not surprising. All common sense of navigation in the sea area of the Grand Line does not apply. This kind of compass in the open sea cannot predict the magnetic field in the Grand Line. The current and direction of the ocean are always changing." Quote. "Then what should we do? If there is no way to point out the direction, wouldn't we be lost in the sky forever?" Nami's expression turned ugly after hearing this. "What are you afraid of?" Luffy stuffed a large piece of meat into his mouth again. "Don't we have the record pointer that Vivi and the others brought? We can easily follow the route by following that thing, just ask Vivi for it." Quote. This was originally one of the purposes of Luffy to find Vivi in Laboon's stomach. "I see, it scared me to death. I thought we were going to starve to death on the ocean. I didn't expect you, Luffy, to be reliable once in a while." Nami praised with a long sigh of relief. At this time, a weak voice came. "That wasn't the record pointer that Mr. 9 and I brought with him, taken away by Mr. 9 when he returned to Whiskey Hill. Everyone. 1.0. Quick. Drive back. See if you can get back to Twin Point." "No way. The current Hefeng has completely changed. There is no way to go back with our sailboat." "Then let's move. There's no direction at all." "Vivi, how did you survive until now?" Finally, under everyone's coquettish operation, the melee was completely lost at the intersection of the Grand Line. "Luffy." The desperate roar of the crowd resounded in the sea. "If you don't eat, the food in the warehouse will be gone." "Nani. That's our food for a month. B************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************** Everyone, you get out of the way and let me cut him. Chapter 86 Nami, Melee is the top. Advertisement. Above the Grand Line. A sheep-headed sloop sailed alone on the endless sea. Nami was wearing a cotton-padded jacket and looked out of the window at the heavy snow. What the hell is this heavy snowfall? It just fell, even though it was still very hot just now. And outside the window, Luffy and Usopp are making a snowman out of snow. Yaoshi, it's done. Let you see my snow sculpture. Usopp proudly points to a snowman modeled after Vivi. There was a muffled bang. Vivi stood behind Usopp with her fists raised and said frantically, "Clothe me a snowman, B*****************. Suddenly a large pool of snow fell from the sky and directly buried Usopp in it. Nami-san, until when will you shovel snow with love? Sanji's voice came from the roof. Hey, B*************D Sanji. Do you want to fight? Usopp poked his head out of the snowdrift and shouted defiantly. Huh, Sanji's nympho face instantly turned into disdain. You want to kill me and I will help you. Ola ola ola. 14 inches. Woo big wood big wood big. The two began to have a snowball fight on the boat. Nami put his hand on his forehead helplessly. Why are these guys so energetic in such a cold day? It has been 2 days since we left Gemini Cape, and because there is no record pointer, everyone can only advance aimlessly on the route. Until 1 day ago, the appearance of a Japanese cat and a vulture finally solved everyone's urgent needs. Unlucky combination, Bar Lock works a duo that specializes in clearing out runaway members for Kettle Lock. After throwing a bomb at Vivi, he was kicked down by Sanji. The record pointer they carried was also searched by everyone, and everyone set foot on the road to Whiskey Hill again. However, the difficulty on the Grand Line is not only a matter of direction, the changeable climate also makes everyone miserable. Often it is still scorching summer in the first moment, and suddenly turns into cold winter in the next moment. In just a short while, the melee was covered with thick snow. Suddenly a thunderclap pulled Nami's thoughts back. She glanced at the record pointer in her hand and let out a piercing scream. Ah, the boat is going the wrong way. Turn the bow quickly. Pull the jib lock. Bring the starboard side to the wind. Usopp go pull the jib. Sanji go helm. Zoro you be *********************. D why can't you wake up in such thick snow? Advertisement. Hey, Nami, there are dolphins. Luffy pointed excitedly at a black shadow in the distance. Nami went crazy. Shut up. Under the command of Nami, the melee survived the chaotic climate sea without any risk. Zoro awoke from hibernation with a yawn. Huh, Zoro looked surprised at the exhausted people on the ground. Hey, even if the weather is fine, you don't need to be so lazy, right? All lying on the deck and sleeping. Everyone sad face, #pan convex. Only you are being lazy, B****************. D. Nami punched Zoro with a big bump on the head. You be *************. D, thanks to the fact that you have been able to sleep leisurely until now. No matter how you call you can't wake up. Hurry up and go to work. Huh, you have a problem. Zoro turned to look at Nami viciously. Afterwards, he covered the 3 big bumps bulging on his head with a hideous face. Luffy sighed. What do you say you provoked her? Boom. Luffy also crouched beside Zoro covering his head. You also watched the whole show before, B***********. D. Nami rubbed his nervous forehead vigorously. Fortunately, the first stage of the voyage is finally over. Huh, everyone didn't know what Nami meant. I saw Nami pointing straight ahead, and an island resembling a prickly pear appeared in front of everyone. Oh, here we are, the first island of the Grand Line. Usopp danced excitedly. As this Whiskey Hill, a lot of people on the side of the road are welcoming us. Do they know we're Marines? Shouldn't it? We don't have a Marine logo on our ship either. Everyone looked at the enthusiastic town residents holding banners on both sides of the river with surprise. Welcome to the Grand Line. Welcome to Whiskey Hill. Pirates, welcome. Long live the heroes of the sea. Advertisement. The applause made Zoro and the others think they had come to the celebration site. Is it true that the identity of Marine is more useful? If it is a pirate, maybe we will be kicked out. It's the first time I feel the admiration of thousands of people. Is this the honor of being a Marine? Kaya, I have become a brave Marine warrior. But I seem to have heard them say long live the pirates. You must have misunderstood. The one I heard was clearly the hero of the sea, and the one who went up must be Marine. 2. Oh, there are so many kawaii girls too. Everyone boarded the port with excitement and cheers. Bababa, welcome. Ikaram greeted Luffy and the others with a saxophone. I am the mayor of Whiskey Peak. Why is there no pirate flag on your ship? Usopp took the lead, and excitedly shook Ikaram's hand. Ah, my name is Usopp. Colonel Naval Headquarters, please give me your advice. Ikaram was taken aback, and looked at Usopp suspiciously. Aren't you pirates? Usopp waved his hand. How can such a righteous and handsome person like us be a pirate? We are Naval Headquarters Major. Did you see that one? Naval Headquarters Commodore Monkey D. Luffy. Everyone looked at Luffy in unison, only to realize that the person in front of them was exactly the same as the Marine supernova in the newspaper they read 2 days ago. The originally cheering town residents stopped abruptly as if they were stuck. Everyone looked at 943 and others with disgust. Nani, what's the matter? Usopp looked at the townspeople in bewilderment, wondering why they had such a big reaction. Zoro walked forward slowly at this time, looked at the town villagers with a sneer on the corner of his mouth and said. Of course it's because they are not ordinary civilians. Usopp was taken aback. What do you mean? These people are all bounty hunters who aim to hunt pirates. It was rare for Zoro not to feel drowsy, and he explained to the crowd. I just said why those two people are so familiar. It turned out to be the Bar Lock company that invited me before. You are also well-known bounty hunters. At this moment, Luffy slowly stepped forward and said to Ikaram with a smile, what? You don't welcome our marine. I heard that Whiskey Peak is a town famous for its brewing and music, but now it only welcomes pirates and not marines. Doesn't that make sense? After hearing this, Ikaram's face became a little embarrassed. It was tacitly understood by everyone that we originally planned to get the pirates drunk and then kill them to earn bounties. What do you mean by your rip-off attitude? At this moment, Vivi stepped down from the melee. Ikaram. Ikaram's eyes changed. Why is Princess Vivi on this ship? Ikaram's tone suddenly changed. Then please take your seats, Lord Marines, and let us treat you well. Chapter 87 Group Mind Control. Advertisement. Yeah, Mr. Usopp. It's great. I hate it. The three girls in the tavern looked adoringly at pretending Usopp. The bounty hunters on the side gave admiring glances. Come on, you're welcome, just drink. Luffy stepped on the table, raised his glass and cheered loudly. Oh, the crowd first applauded in unison. Then everyone turned their heads and wanted to cry without tears. This is the last surplus of Whiskey Hill. It was originally prepared to trap pirates, but at this time it was squandered by Luffy so recklessly. The key is that this guy is still a marine. Not only does he not have a bounty, but if he dies here, he might get into big trouble. Everyone had no choice but to hope that the guy in front of him would get drunk soon due to his overpowering drinking power. However, it is clear that this is not realistic for Luffy who has learned to return life. Plenty of good wine poured into Luffy's mouth and turned into energy. And Luffy is still eating hot pot and singing happily without getting drunk. Outside the house, Ikaram was worriedly asking Vivi, Princess Vivi. What's going on here? Why did you come here with Marine? Vivi excitedly said to Ikaram, Luffy is a Marine supernova. And he discovered the truth about the civil strife in our kingdom. This time he went to solve this matter. What? Ikaram was taken aback. He and the princess were lurking in the Bar Lock studio and finally collected Zeke Lockdoll's criminal evidence. He didn't expect a Marine to say that he knew it. Are you sure he's not joking? Ikaram asked suspiciously. Of course not, he just told me all of Lock's evil plans. What Kelkadar wants is not treasure or kingdom at all, he just wants our Alabasta civil strife and the country to die. He wants to find Pluton, one of the 3 legendary ancient weapons on the ruins of our kingdom. What? The Pluton battleship? Ikaram exclaimed in a low voice, that thing is in our country. Vivi nodded solemnly. This is the secret that Nefertiti has always guarded. According to legend, the historical text recording the location of the Pluton battleship is in our country. If he hadn't revealed this secret, I wouldn't have believed what he said. I saw on the road that their strength is unbelievable. Advertisement. Vivi excitedly described the future scene to Ikaram, and before he came this time, he had asked MR9 to summon the employees of the Bar Lock Work Agency, and was going to wipe them all out. Ikaram was overjoyed when he heard the words, now the kingdom is saved. Let's go and treat them well. By the way, when will the employees arrive? Vivi calculated the time. Probably tonight. Ikaram, Vivi. Tonight. The two rushed into the banquet hall in a hurry. I saw Luffy lying on the sofa and sleeping soundly. Nami drunkenly raised his glass and looked at the fallen Zoro with disdain. What, Zoro, you are too shameful. Cheers. I won't stop until I get the bonus. Sanji hugged the two girls with a face full of nympho, and there were a dozen or so people sitting beside him drinking wine with him. This is a paradise, Sanji murmured nympho with his pillow on his lap. Ikaram looked at Luffy and the others who seemed to have no combat power in a daze. Are you sure they are powerful? At this time, Circus came from the side with a piece of pizza in his mouth. Is there any more? Finished. Ikaram breathed a sigh of relief, and finally he was still awake. Only Vivi looks depressed. She has no fighting power. At this time, a Vajra Barbie wearing a nun's costume stepped forward, and she frowned and walked in front of Ikaram. Why do we entertain this group of Marines? Obviously, there is not much food in our town. Ikaram and Vivi looked at each other awkwardly. You can't tell them that you are an undercover agent of Alabasta, can you? Looking at Luffy and others who were sleeping soundly. Ikalem coughed twice. You call everyone to the square. The nun, to be exact, Miss Joe, looked puzzled, but she didn't decide to trust her partner. Soon hundreds of bounty hunters gathered on the square, all of which were under the management of Ikaram. Everyone. Ikaram said to everyone with a solemn expression, here I will tell you a secret. Ikaram said in a low voice. He and Vivi looked at each other, and Vivi nodded. The two decided to reveal their identities and subdue this group of bounty hunters. After all, their target has always been the pirates who entered the Grand Line. The main source of income is exchanging bounties with the world government and marine. As the chief bodyguard and princess of the countries that joined the world government, they must not dare to do anything to themselves. After all, if they kill themselves, they will be wanted, which is equivalent to cutting off their money. Advertisement. Everyone looked at Ikaram strangely, not knowing what he wanted to say. Yo, everyone is admiring the moon. Suddenly a voice came. Everyone looked up in astonishment, only to find that Luffy was sitting on a roof in front of them at some point. And beside him sat Zoro holding 3 knives. I thought something big was going to happen, so I ran out. Zoro muttered impatiently. Of course something big happened. At this time, a voice suddenly came from the street in the distance. That's why you guys are going to die. Everyone turned their heads to look, but saw a dark man with dirty braids and sunglasses coming out of the corner, and a beautiful woman with an umbrella was sitting on his shoulder. Ikaram's expression changed upon seeing this. MR5. Miss Valentine. I didn't expect our dear Miss Wednesday to be the majestic princess of Alabasta, who wants to sneak into the workplace to collect evidence of the boss's crime. Mr. 5 picked his nostrils with his fingers and said lightly, if Mr. 9 hadn't reported to us, we really couldn't find any evidence. What? Vivi's expression changed. Didn't Mr. 9 ask you for help to support me? Huh, it seems that you didn't even know you were cheated. Mr. 9, Zhao Zhao, reported to us in detail about your identity and purpose. This time we came here to get rid of you. Ha ha ha. Miss Valentine laughed while talking. Vivi looked at Luffy in disbelief. You told them. Luffy nodded as a matter of course. Sure, otherwise why would they come? Are you one of them? Oh, Vivi looked at Luffy desperately and asked. Before Luffy could speak, Mr. 5 said triumphantly. How is it possible? Hee, this guy is also on our assassination list. Shall I chop them up? Zoro on the side yawned and said. Luffy waved his hand. It's hard to get here, this is our financial income. Zoro. Huh, Luffy beckoned to the bounty hunters below. Come on, look at me, hey, yes, come on and shout, eggplant.